We'll get to see what maps we're going to play on, because that might just be the thing that changes everything. I mean, we saw Oregon and Border removed. Maybe that was the thing that really put our very first matchup on edge. We'll get to see how this one goes, as we'll get Clubhouse, Oregon, and Border to tight. So there you go. Our two maps that were banned our previous matchup will be played this time. Maybe we'll see a Border. It's a possibility in this very matchup, and we'll get to see how that evolves through the very first map of Clubhouse. But Clubhouse, Oregon, pretty darn good. Clubhouse figured out in general now with the changes. It's been a while. I mean, if you haven't figured out at this point, it's probably time to go for it. But what can I say? It's been like, what, 5 months? But the big change is now adding Maverick. I mentioned it in the very first game. I'll mention it again. The ban on Maverick changes things quite a bit. You don't have to worry about the way that he's been played. It makes attacks onto cache and server much easier to execute. Even on Bedroom, taking control of construction and dealing with logistics office is much easier. Hell, pushing church, that is a ton easier now with Maverick.
I mean, the big thing is he going to escape the operator ban phase? Let's focus solely on Maverick. He typically does end up getting banned on a number of times. Mm-hmm. Teams also don't seem the most comfortable running him because, yeah, you're absolutely right. He definitely has his usage here on Clubhouse. He's a menace when dealing with possible bandits or mutes on the other side of walls. I'm thinking on either the CCTV wall, the jacuzzi wall, etc. Yes, you can also have him possibly take the role of Thermite downstairs in dirt. You can have him carve a very small hole in dirt and then just crawl right in, because most teams are not going to heavily contest all the way to the reinforced panels. And if it's quiet enough, you might not even know that he's going for that route.
More often than not, it is fairly quiet.
And yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is strange that it is a little bit quieter, closer up, a little bit louder farther away. But I mean, that's something right now with the way that his gadget is working as. But he also takes up a vital role that you could possibly just run the dual hard breaches of Thermite Hibana on, and then have a Bucker, a Zofia, possibly a Twitch, possibly a Thatcher, fulfill the rest of that role. Yep. And Maverick at that point is somebody who becomes more of a niche pick and more of a comfort pick for teams. Do you have somebody who likes playing him? Mouse, for example, has Vertical, who plays Maverick quite a bit. That seems to be a deliberate choice because he does have the M4 and the AR that are both quite good weapons. And he is a 3-speed, so that obviously benefits them as well. So we have all this speculation that we can do, but it remains to be seen. He was banned on Clubhouse in our very first matchup today.
Yep.
Is he going to find the same fate this time?
And this is the question, because before we had Maverick, there would always be one hard breacher that's banned, either the Hibana or the Thermite. It depends on what you're going to focus on mainly. If you're going to play in a way where you're going to focus mostly on the bottom floor, on church, etc., going to remove the Hibana just to have the hatches a bit more difficult to deal with for the attackers. However, if you're going to focus more up on the top floors, either if you want to play on Bedroom or on Cache, then you'll remove the Thermite, because he's usually the bane of your existence if you're on the defense. Now, you don't always see that hard breacher ban, and we saw it on our very first matchup here on the first map. There was no hard breacher ban, and there you go. Maverick again is going to be banned. It makes a ton of sense. Someone will have to ban him. And here with Vicious taking him off the board, Hyper will have the opportunity to pick, do we remove the Glaz? Do we remove the Lion? These are operators that are very popular in the ban phase.
Lion is interesting because I find that the very coordinated teams will take Lion away. The teams that haven't really had the same level of stratting available to them on attack and haven't been able to build upon those, they don't get as much value out of Lion, so I think that they don't often go for the Lion ban. And there you have it. Lion wasn't banned at all in the Elephant Gang versus members-only matchup, and at least so far through map number 1 here on Clubhouse, neither Hyper nor Vicious will opt to do that. They'll take out some frustrating operators to deal with. You know, we saw Glaz and Maverick on Clubhouse last match. On Consulate, it was Glaz and Blackbeard. Now it's Ying and Mav. And I think that makes a lot of sense. These are operators who are very powerful, especially when they don't need a lot of coordination around them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You take them away, you don't have to fear an uncoordinated team just kind of pushing onto you and taking you out. And this ties very well into it. Hyper removing the Echo, so no more Yokais to be available. Probably the Mirror that'll get removed here by Vicious. There you go. So this does leave us with a Maestro and a Smoke. The interesting part about playing Clubhouse is that this is the map that plays very well with a Maestro Smoke plus Alibi, or a Maestro Smoke plus Vigil, depending on how you're setting things up. The roam play can be very effective, and even when you're playing on a bedroom defense or on church, Alibi holding off in cash room, very difficult to deal with. So, possible. In here, I don't think nobody's going to be six picking onto another op. We're going to play mostly your default operators for CCTV and cash room. Pulse will be set up, so I'm very interested to see how Pulse is going to be played. As usually what you do as the attackers, especially since we saw the Buck before, he'll come in and try to buck the floor right below cash. Well, that's usually where the Pulse is going to be placed. Is he going to play now mostly around blue? How is it going to set up? It's always a curious question.
Yeah, your Pulse's position is going to likely be inside a stock. And if you're not going to keep him in stock, you're probably going to keep him in cash, and you're going to have him work in there. You might even stick him in garage if you realize that teams are not contesting garage, and that's something.
Oil pit's pretty decent position for him as well. It's easy to rotate off of it.
Absolutely, and he can come up through the stairs as well if need be, and you could even have him play down below, because keep in mind, playing exactly where you see Pixel playing now, he can look all the way up through the floors. It's a 9-meter range, and it's actually quite deceptive how long that can be, and you can continuously give that information to their team. So that'll be something that you can just keep in the back of your mind here, because a lot of teams have simply ignored garage. This used to be the place to start out your attack on, was capture control of garage. Use Hibana, open up one of the garage walls, you're going to get that long line of sight all the way up to the window at the top of garage. Usually there would be somebody playing in garage with a couple ADSs, maybe a mute jammer, depending on what your lineup is. Typically that's where your Maestro would set himself up. But a lot of teams are just going for construction now, and they're putting pressure on red in construction, and instead pushing out, possibly taking the CCTV wall, and that's where their focus is going to be. So it really comes down to the way that the attackers decide to deal with this. Vicious Gaming have lots of opportunity to be able to stop it, as they do have a setup inside a garage, but for the time being, there's going to be no emphasis on garage right now. It's going to be Gym and Master side and construction being held down, but a good impact trick from Oasis is going to mean that exothermic charge isn't going to happen.
And this is why a lot of times you'll see the Hibana go off first to open up a side of the wall and make it a lower hole, so it's much easier for you to deal with a Legion or anybody's playing in the back of the site. Fortunately here for Hyper, they'll be able to open up the wall and get a frag onto Rich Vicious. So that's the Maestro out of play. Vicious on the backhand, but you see where Hyper are. All the players all hold up upstairs. They're trying to push in. This is the time for the Pulse to shine.
Yeah, and here we have it. There's another kill. Habibi's going to walk right in. A lost gunfight from K2. Traded out Strage with one. Oasis and Nog there to take big kills, and Pixel will have to get back to site, but he's going to get caught out. He's got the heartbeat sensor out, but the man is fragging. He'll take out Nicky Poe, and I think that's just a visual glitch at this point, as he's... Trust me, they did not outfit that cardiac sensor with the ability to fire weapons.
Smile!
But Pixel's last one left. He's going to have to go for a mean rotate here, and whether he's getting that information or not, Plant is going down. He still has the Nitro Cell, and he's got that available to him, but he will miss out for now, not getting the information on time, trying to see if one of them is going to stick the landing. He'll put it away, and, well, he's going to engage with the Thermite on top of the stairs, and, oh, this is going to be very difficult. Great position right now for Hyper to be able to walk away with this very first round here, and very difficult for Pixel to be able to retake. He's going to walk right in. He doesn't see the Thermite. A ring around the Rosie, and Habibi, your favorite on that team, will be credited with the final kill, and Hyper will open things up here with a pretty convincing round win.
I have to say that Pulse Spectre glitch was hilarious.
That's really something.
But it did work out very well there for Hyper on the attack. They held the last angle was all they needed. They needed the crossfire. It works out very well in their hands. Now, unfortunately, the Pulse wasn't able to land the C4. If he had, might have been a completely different outcome. But again, those few seconds are all that you really require when it comes to competitive play here in Siege. It's Hyper to take the very first round, and off of a very efficient attacking position. they kind of just destroyed the wall. They moved in. They were in position. They went for the plant. They never hesitated when they had the opportunity, which means information game was on point. They were gathering the intel and, more importantly, relaying it correctly between the players so that they can organize and orchestrate their push into the site to get a successful plant right at the end. They got the frags in their hands, got the early pick on the Maestro, but what they didn't really look for was the Jaeger that was still in garage. They were not expecting him in that position. So really the only downfall, in my opinion, you saw the Jaeger getting a couple frags there at the end before falling down and leaving it all to the pulse. Pretty successful round, I have to say, but now we go to Church, and we'll get to see how this is played as Rich Vicious is going to try to set up an Evil Eye here, possibly through the hallway. No reinforcement on the side of the wall, and as usual, I am the very first person to question that sort of decision-making. I think this is very much set in stone at this point, especially when Hyper are bringing the Buck, which is very efficient as this sort of clear. We'll see how it plays out. Hyper have the two hard breachers, and it gives them a lot of options.
A real missed opportunity here for somebody to not rename themselves Sid when you look at Vicious Gaming. You go with Sid Vicious in here because you've said now endearingly Rich Vicious, and that sounds like pretty good moniker.
That's a
pretty, you name your kid, oh, what's your kid's name? Oh, he's Rich Vicious. Oh, well, that is just quite the handle. So,
I don't think it's his real name.
You know what? Probably not his birth name. I gotta say.
I would change my name to that.
We're going to see here now whether there's going to be any investment off-site for Vicious. And I would imagine that we're probably going to see them play a little bit tighter and closer to the site as they're defending downstairs in Church. So already a bit of a rhythmic change from the Elephant Gang members-only matchup that we saw very first on. And as it was a Gym Master, that was the second site. So instead they're going to go downstairs, which is the old atypical site here to see teams play with.
Yeah, so the rotation hole is not going to get spotted by the Buck. This is why you bring the Buck. It's one of the many, many positives that he gives you on your squad. The pulse is going to get detected here, so Pixel's got to be careful, and he spots the side of Habibi as he gets him down to 60% health, but it's Strage from this top. Just opening the hatch, finding the angle, taking him down. Does he spot the Maestro in the back? Probably not at this point. He's playing right behind of the armory lockers, and K2 has already taken control of the center stairs. So right now, everything in the hands of Hyper. They're very efficient at this and not really wasting any time, as if they can utilize their utility correctly here, should be an easy way of pushing, I believe, the Jaeger here at a position in blue and having K2 holding off the rotation. But that Maestro Evil Eye is very well placed and will make things a lot more complicated for Nikki to move in.
Nikki missing the rotate on low jacks, and that's a kill on Lamb very easily, but just unable to get it as the rotate happens a little bit faster than I think he was anticipating. Habibi, the Buck, will play with fire, and he will get burned, as you say so long. Oasis credited with the kill on that one. That's soft breaching potential. Off of the board now as well for Heartbreachers. Oh, what a shot there, as it's going to be 3 jumping in. An absolute calamity as every single member of Vicious gets in towards the site, and Extra credited with a kill onto Nog, but he's going to have to wade through all that barbed wire. He's going to hit a goo mine, take a little bit of damage. He doesn't have a lot of time left to work against these 3 members of Vicious.
Yeah, at this point it's just Oasis's Legion making Hyper cry their hearts out, I guess. Extra will try to move in, but it's Rich to just peek in through the tunnel, get the last kill. Efficient play from Vicious.
You just need to wait. I mean, you've got so many bullets there in the LMG. They see the butt end or the rifle end of the barrel end. That's the word for it.
Why are you always focusing on the back, Parker?
Can you tell that I don't deal with guns a lot in real life? Can you tell that?
Actually, it's because we're on USN. We did take him to the range. It was very interesting. If we get to go to the USN finals, guess where we're going to go, Parker?
A gun range.
Yes.
I don't like loud noises. Like loud noises like pops and all that jazz. If you want to terrify me, you just hold a balloon in one hand and a pin in the other, and I will be on edge the whole time.
It's odd that you say that as a play-by-play commentator.
Well, I mean, I make noises with my mouth, but I mean, other than that, like, it's not like I'm super loud, I guess, all the time, sometimes.
Maybe not on broadcast.
Maybe not on broadcast, I mean, sure, but It's just it's the looming, and that was it. Like the gun range was fun, but anyway, they saw the end of the gun there, and it was the Maestro able to peek out, knowing that he had so many bullets. That's a decision you can make.
Just
so.
spray. You got an 80-round box magazine. You
don't even need to be ADS'd at that range because the LMG spread tightens over time on that.
And you have a laser sight, which means that you don't really have any dispersion on the LMG once you go for a spray. So, yeah, no matter what, you're going to take him down pretty easily.
No Maestro this time around for Vicious. They went with the Maestro, and I got to say, he wasn't a factor whatsoever. Typically, he's an incredibly powerful operator when you see on CCTV cache, but because they had that wonky rotate hole, a lot of teams don't use this, and I think this is a big surprise here. Oasis is working on it right now. There aren't that many teams that utilize this because you know that it's very important for you to be able to play on the other side of that wall. If you lose garage control, the fact that you've opened up that hole can go so poorly for you.
Yep.
Yes, it does mean that you can possibly contest the window. That's outside on the left side of your screen, right there. Yes, it does mean that you can possibly hold that angle, but you're also very susceptible to getting pushed from the CCTV wall on the east side of the building. There's a reason why very few teams use that, and that's because it typically works much better in favor of the attackers than it does the defenders. So you basically give up quite a bit of control, and oh my, see you later, Lojax. He gets spotted inside of construction, absolutely vaporized by Habibi. The Buck will get the entry frag only 40 seconds in here.
This is pretty bad, actually, because now the Legion's down. No more impacts to play with. A lot easier for Extra to just open the wall as nobody can really contest them. At 2 minutes, Vicious is going to have to rely on the smokes from Oasis. That's not a good a spot to be in.
Or possibly Pixel with the C4 if he's able to land it, but there was hesitation last time on his part, not knowing that the plant was going down, so he's going to be very pivotal. The one thing that Hyper has not really done all that well when they've been attacking this site is clearing out the bottom floor. Hyper's primary focus has been to circle the site, put pressure on the site, and force the defenders that are playing off site to have to retake into you. That's a very difficult strategy to do, especially if you find yourself going down numbers, because keeping somebody on that perpetual flank watch due to you not droning things out earlier on. Oh, Rich, what are you doing? Strage is there to get the kill, and oh man, now Nog is just going to feed himself in. Nobody paying attention whatsoever. Pixel from below will see Strage. He gets a big kill that he needs, but it's just 2v4. The C4 will miss. Oasis falls to K2, and now Pixel once again will have to try to work against every single member of Hyper who are just cleaning house. They'll take cash for the second time in a row. A big, sloppy round for Vicious Gaming, and Hyper just feasts upon it.
That's a sloppy Joe right there. I have to say, I've actually never had a sloppy Joe. Number 2, why was the Legion in construction? Why did he peek out when all he has to do is stay in the doorway and chuck an impact grenade and take down the thermite charge? Slow things down. At 2 minutes, the wall was already open. That's not acceptable, really. And you mentioned the rotation hole that was opened up into garage, ended up, as indeed you mentioned, it's almost as if you know what you're talking about, Parker, right? They get the shot on him, and he doesn't really do much because the angle works against him in that situation because the attack is coming the other way. Unfortunate. It was very well spotted by Hyper to play their push from construction, but they've been doing this fairly consistently, and it seems like a thing that they're very comfortable with. So you give them the big opening that they want, which is no more impacts, and you kind of just give them the whole ride.
Attackers have located a bomb.
I am continuously confused by a couple things that we've seen out of Vicious here, and try not to wade too much into critique. It's really been a lot less about Hyper really being able to put Vicious in bad spots, and Vicious having the uncanny ability to find themselves in probably the worst spots at the worst time, and Hyper getting a lot of luck. Holiday Nog, middle of the site, rotating with 2 open windows watching him. Easy for him to get picked off. Lojax, puzzlingly in construction. I mean, yeah, the Buck was there a little early. I don't think a lot of people would anticipate the Buck would be inside of construction 40 seconds in. That's a pretty fast pace for the Buck to set, sure. But you got to be a bit more defensive than that. And I found that Vicious have been their own worst enemy so far, and it hasn't been so much as Hyper playing as well as you'd anticipate. It's really just more that, you know, Vicious has been putting themselves in bad spots. But speaking of bad spots, LoJax, who was inside of construction last time, well, he's going to be in a position where he's able to get a big kill, and he's going to start things off by taking out K2. Impactful in the sense that it will set the pace here, but Nikki taking out Rich, seeing if another will peek as Habibi now watches. LoJax still possibly going to get pinned down at some point as this castle is very low on HP, and Extra will just fire into a corpse. I don't think he sees the heals of LoJax, but Nog and LoJax get their own, and what is this pacing? Now Nikki is finished off by Nog, and this style of Vicious just always being in the middle of the action, well, it's going to continue to happen. Some rounds, they blow it. This round, very much the opposite. Extra found, spotted inside of the top of garage. He's going to fire away, pull out his pistol as he almost runs out of ammunition. LoJax gets reset. There's a drone there for Extra, and he is just a man on an island right now.
Well, I don't know if he's going to be able to do much. He's got one exothermic charge to play with, but the Valkyrie already knows where he's at. He spots probably a Valk just by the side of the foot through the drone hole, but he's just pre-firing positions, expecting players to be around him, and we'll go down to Oasis. So there you go. It's pretty done and done round there by Vicious, and I have to say completely different to what we saw them doing in the past.
What a peculiar round. What a peculiar set of rounds so far that we've seen from these teams. Is it's just appears to be who can hit the hardest the fastest. There doesn't really seem to be any real rhyme or reason so far for Vicious's defense. And I mean, you want to spend an equal amount of time being able to talk up and praise Hyper, but Hyper have just been getting gifted free kills on a number of these rounds.
And they've been using them perfectly to their advantage. That's the thing. However, Vicious just completely collapse on top of them as Hyper are going through the very first part of the checklist, which is take CCTV and then take cash and then try to focus on the site. They got completely blindsided, and we're not expecting the aggressive plays from Vicious. And honestly, that run out from the smoke onto the Zofia, definitely not something you're going to expect. Very ballsy moves there, but they're expecting to have their angles covered from cash and from the stairs. And it's puzzling how it was up to the Thermite there to go for the clear on the stairs to try and deal with the castle in the back. But again, we head back into church. We'll see how this one plays out for Vicious, as it is their last round on the defense in round 5. Obviously, round 6 will be switching things around. And this time, there is a Maestro for Vicious to play in. They did have this operator when they were playing here, and obviously was very instrumental in the final bit of victory. This time, Hyper are bringing K2 on the glass, as the glass was not banned. So having the Maestro is very good to clear out the glass, because a lot of glasses, what they'll do is play a very one-dimensional style, which is, I'm just going to chuck a smoke and play through it. But the Maestro counters that. You have the evil eyes that can't see through the smoke, so it's much easier to get the pre-fire on the glass and take him out, which has happened time and time again.
All right, slower pace than we've seen over the last 3 rounds, that's for certain, but I mean, it's only 40 seconds, so a bit strange for us to say. Habibi of the Buck has been a very pivotal force for this team to be able to take map control away and put pressure on with the soft destruction. I haven't really seen a lot of frag grenade usage come out of him, much at all, but they haven't really been in positions where they've needed it. It's been a while since we've seen a full-blown execute. I think the last time that we saw an actual well-timed execute from both sides was when Church came down in that second round. So that's where we are again, back downstairs. It was a victory for Vicious. They had to run for the 3 rounds as the site rotation wore off before they could come back here, and they're looking to try and take it, as both teams have won 2 rounds apiece so far. Nothing really outside of the ordinary for Hyper in terms of timing. They got the dual hard breachers of both Hibana and Thermite, giving them plenty of opportunities to open things up. There's a possibility to see an impact trick on that church wall if need be. That's why Oasis is playing inside of church. They can possibly use those impact grenades should he have one remaining to possibly stop if reaching around charge. But no, he's actually used both of his impact grenades. So that wall where you see the pulse situated of LoJax, it could possibly be very easy for them to be able to open it up. And that's exactly what's going to happen. He's going to pick up 2 bodies, and it's just going to blow wide open. But LoJax will toss out a C4 and be gifted a kill on the Strage, waiting to see if the Thermite's going to peek. But no, he doesn't take the bait. He'll instead find Oasis, get the kill, and both teams will lose 1. But there's LoJax gunned down from the hatch as he gets the kill on the Extra, and we're at a 3v3 with 45 seconds to go.
Yeah, Habibi just peeking in from Moto. Not sure if he has the beat on the Jaeger in the back. Information should have already been relayed through by the Thermite as he'll tag him down. The Maestro's fairly low, immediately going in for the plant. Smart play here as Rich, though, will be the last one alive. Habibi from the back coming in, cleans it in Church. And that's a pretty sweet round here for Hyper. The retake, unfortunately, did not work out in the way of Vicious. And being able to open up the church wall and go in directly for a plant behind a surface that you cannot get shot through, those boxes, was a very good call.
Interesting to put the Pulse over on church side and not in the spot that is actually called Pulse spot, which tends to be the back of the Arsenal room by the bottom of the stairs. That's where you usually want them to play. They can give you coverage upstairs, catch anybody who's rotating down the main stairs. And on top of that, it did look like Vicious had opened that wall up where they would have played. So understandable that you don't have somebody playing there because they would be spotted, but interesting that you wouldn't reinforce it and have somebody in that position. What it did allow them to do, though, is if the call had been made from LoJax, providing that there wasn't looming threat of somebody on the attacker side playing in kitchen, you could have rotated somebody down while the Thermite was getting that exothermic charge off and gotten a very easy double kill because there wouldn't have been any other coverage on you from the attackers. That didn't end up happening. So I don't know if it was just simply that Vicious were a little too scared. They're playing very deep by the back of Arsenal. I'm not entirely certain, but that could have been a big strategic asset for them. Instead, they basically gifted that church wall, as you said, and then they just tried to frag out, and it didn't work at all.
Yeah, the Maestro might have an 80-round box to use with his LMG. Unfortunately, when you're low on health like that and you have to face multiple angles, you're not really going to feasibly win out the round for your team. But things aside, we have a Vigil and gracing us with her existence this round, Caveira. And with a shotgun. All right, I think UNS has had his effect on many, many teams after the Paris Major.
Well, let's be honest. Cavs SMG is
terrible.
It's dreadfully bad.
It's like the worst gun in the game.
It's dreadfully bad. I mean, other than the fact that the shotgun might have one of the biggest visuals of the entire game, it seems like half of your screen is taken up when you put a sight on that. I mean, I don't even know why you would run a sight on it, but I mean, that's not really quite the point.
ADS, duh.
That would be why people run sights on things, I'm sure, but
it's a shotgun. You don't really need to ADS, especially with a more spammy style of a shotgun here. But K2's going to pull back with the Vigil for just a second. He knows this is going to get fought here by the Lion. And the Lion/Jackal combo works out very well in theory. But will they be able to deal with Extra, who's not going to be moving? The Vigil, unfortunately, is going to get caught off and taken down just a bit. Extra will get one as K2 will go down. And this is sayonara here. Extra just walking back. He's got the Bandit to support him as well. And lots of the Vigil for the Zofia. Take that any day.
Excellent trade overall, and I mean it was an opportunity where we could have seen the Cav possibly get the kill. Strage here just waiting to see if somebody's going to dare him to a fight. He's got Extra tagging in as the Bandit is going to scoot off, but Extra's going to get spotted by the drone, and I think mistaking the fact that he's not a Vigil. Caveira, you are of course silent stepping, but you get spotted by that drone, and that is an easy finish off so long to the Cav. A big, heavy amount of roaming here on a site that doesn't usually see that much roaming still. And I know that this used to be one of the sites where you would see very little map control be handed out because you didn't really need it. But there are teams that will run a roamer now and then. What this does mean, though, is that every single time that Vicious comes back to attack this site, whether they win this round or not, they'll have to spend a lot of time trying to establish map control and making sure that they've figured out exactly where everybody is. It's the same thing that we saw in an EG Rogue matchup where EG decided to roam on the old clubhouse and it caught them off guard. Also, I'm not exactly certain what just happened there. Is there was one body from Vicious that dropped Oil Pit, and now Oasis sees the Jaeger, but he just misses his shots, and Nicky Po does get finished off as Nog is able to grab it, and this is a good round for Vicious overall.
Yeah, 4v2 as Strange comes in, but Oasis is ready for him. The shotgun does not connect, and yet another shot as he'll down one, but Nog is ready for him, pulls out the bearing 9, cleans Habibi up. It's Vicious to keep things in heavy contention, I have to say. This is turning into a very back and forth matchup, as I guess we were expecting.
Absolutely. I'm very impressed with what we've seen out of Hyper over the last 2 rounds. You know, I was maybe a bit critical of the fact that Vicious seemed to be playing worse than Hyper was playing well, and I think that that still stands so far. I think that in terms of potential out of what we've seen from this roster here on Vicious, that they are definitely capable of a better scoreline than 3-3. But there is obviously things to take into consideration here. Hyper is not a bad team by any stretch. And they've been able to read what Vicious has thrown at them. And even though Vicious have put themselves in odd positions, you still have to give credit to the fact that Hyper's been able to get the kills when needed, as you said. On that particular round, Vicious, quite a slow pace to be able to clear everything out. It was about a minute to go, but Clubhouse does happen to be one of those maps where once you clear everything, you can begin your execute quite quickly, especially if they've invested bodies in the roam, because typically you will have a numbers advantage, and that's what we saw out of Vicious in that position. Lion was an operator who didn't really pop up when Hyper was on attack, but now you see it being trotted out from Vicious, and they used it quite well. They used it in the mid to late round execute when they pushed the site and pinned everybody down. It ended up being an excellent amount of timing because they were basically gifted 2 free kills off that, and they also kept the smoke contained, who then had to try to rotate desperately from blue. Did get the down on the Lion, but that was really it. Outside of that, Hyper didn't put a lot of time or thought into possibly trying to stop Vicious from being able to get the hatches and be able to get the hard destruction done, and that's definitely something that they're going to need to focus on.
And I think sacrificing the Maestro pick for the Cav overall does not end up working for them. He's such a great operator now with the current metagame. You mentioned it at the start, in pre-game analysis in the very first matchup. We're more and more in a hard hold type of anchor.
The age of the anchors.
The age of the anchors. I mean, having Echo Smoke Maestro is great. Obviously here you can only have the Maestro. So it's, you know, you sacrifice him for a round, then bring it on here for the second one. So we'll see how the changes are going to be like, because Jackal, of course, here, Oasis using his ITA to his advantage, just opens up the side of the wall and being able to move in from the jacuzzi balcony. And in the meantime, just droning, getting information in general. Vicious kind of taking their time, but they have the time to do this. Can he get the C4, though? That's the question for K2. He's trying to find a stationary target to hit, and unfortunately, we'll see the Jackal a bit too far away for him to connect with. The Habana, oh no, gets the shots from below, but how many have been taken down? Will the entirety of the wall be shot?
It looked like they were able to get some of it open up. Yeah,
the crawl.
There you go. Habibi doing a lot of renovation work. You hear the smoke shout out of Mags, and that's going to be him playing on top of red stairs. Still, we mentioned this before, K2 playing below. He's going to get pinched here by the Jackal, and he'll dive right out. Say goodbye, Oasis. Pulses tend to get a little bit tunnel vision playing down there, especially if you've got your back towards the main entrance and main entrance of whichever room you're in. It could have been a very easy read. It's going to look like almost a second, but no, K2 C4 will miss. The wall will absorb most of that. On drone also was the Jaeger, so they know that Nicky Po is downstairs.
And no damage done there. The smoke's going to get spotted and shot down. Rich to connect onto Habibi, but Pix is low on health. So 4v4 with 50 seconds left. Advantage is still in that defensive side. Just hear the C4 being ripped by the Bandit of Extra. Looking for somebody to peek through the hole. And the Maestro, can he connect actually with that drone? There you go. In the meantime, it's 2 down as Nog and Rich will be taken out by Nicky and K2. Leaping up for the kills. The side head of K2 will get spotted and Lojax will connect. 3v2, but low health is Pix. And Nicky Poo's ready for the angle here to shut down the Lion as he walks in. That's Lojax eliminated and picks the last one. Sprayed him by the Maestro. Overall, a much better defense from Hyper.
It just didn't look like Vicious knew what Hyper was running with there. They didn't do a lot of drone work on that first floor, which is strange because I noted that in round number 6, the church defense downstairs. Vicious did spend quite a lot of time trying to drone everything out. They cleared top down as you would expect on Clubhouse. Now, obviously, much more difficult to clear top down when the site is on the top floor.
Yeah.
But you can still do the work needed to possibly put down a flank drone. You can clear out the main floor, and you can go from there. Yet the Jaeger that was playing downstairs through that open hatch, the hatch, which, by the way, should have been spotted by the hard breacher of the Hibana, this hatch is open. You don't even bother to look down there as the Jaeger peeks up and sees you. The Pulse also playing downstairs. Neither of these members of Hyper are spotted at any point, and it seemed like Vicious was equally surprised as we were that they were able to last down there as long as they did. Now, this is coordination that needs to happen if you want to be able to take over on a map that is already typically going to help the defenders. Only one round in favor of Hyper so far on defense. That was the cash they lost downstairs on Church. So, I mean, it shows you that Vicious is capable of winning on attack here. But I'm very surprised that Vicious were very sloppy on their roam clear there. It didn't happen the way it needed to happen.
I mean, it didn't happen at all.
I mean, it did happen around the site, but that was about it. They were able to drone out construction. They were able to drone out Gym and Master, and once they realized that was clear, I think that's when it stopped.
Yeah, and obviously, you mentioned the Jaeger and the Pulse. Those are really the big two operators that slow things down and made Vicious very much doubt their maneuvering, I guess. But we'll get to see how things play out here on Bedroom, as there's quite a few ways to play this site here, Gym and Bedroom, and we talked about this before, the Hallway of Death. This works a lot better, obviously, when the Maverick is not allowed in play, and this is very much the case. So the castle barricades are set up on the window and on the doorway. You'll have Bandit, your extra, setting up for a run out, being able to... Oh, no. Whoa. No. Habibi, the drone hole gets shot down through it, and Rich getting the easy kill with almost no contestation. This is Cash. He's just going to get taken, and the Maestro camera in there should get just shot down. There's a lot of utility that was put in here. Just lost. Yeah, sure, it's just the castle, but man, that's manpower you're losing way too early.
Yeah, that is debilitating there to lose Habibi early on. And I mean, yeah, you down go the impact. That's going to be the biggest thing here. And, you know, it's going to allow Vicious to just take up even more ground as they just continue to push. The fall off of Cash completely, wall being opened up, means that you can sit inside of Cash and be able to dictate the rhythm around anybody trying to stop you inside of Gym. That's really strategic if Rich were to keep on that angle, but it does look like he'll fall off and join the coalition of the willing over here by Gym and Master. They see the Maestro too, who'll get frozen in place, maybe pulling the trigger a bit too soon as Strage is able to go fully prone and evade any shots that will just now sail over his head rather than connect with him. Also, Toxic Babes being pulled out, and oh no, Strage pops right back up, and Oasis will win the game. A whack-a-mole there, sending Strage right back down.
The interesting part is that this wall is completely soft, so K2 can at any point peek through it, and indeed he will. He'll knock down Oasis and finish him off through the wall. 4v2, still big advantage for Vicious here on the attack. Big difference of what we saw in the previous round. Nikki coming in as K2 will be forced out of position in tandem with the Lion E1D. Nikki rotating back here. Now they have the castle barricade set up where he can whack it once and go for the push. Unfortunately, they have to deal with a lot of utility from the Zofia thrown right into them. Nikki peeking up, gets the headshot on a Nog. No more Hibana to deal with. Nikki will get one more. Can he get a third? No, he cannot, as Rich holding the window from Jim takes down Nikki and ties it up yet again, 4-4. Yeah, Parker, this is pretty darn close.
We're sailing into overtime right now with the way that these two teams are playing. And overall right there, I mean, the one thing that Vicious didn't do all that well on the Cash side was being able to hold down multiple angles and fight off Hyper. That was what they did very, very well on that particular round. They were able to hold down those multiple angles, and Hyper just got locked out. So you go from one round where your biggest weakness becomes your biggest strength. Now, some of that is site-specific. Obviously, Cash, with the red stairs, it's harder to lock down the site unless you have full control of Cash. But when you're looking at Gym Master, you can hold so much of that from the outside. And there was nobody to rotate over towards the CCTV side of things to possibly challenge the players that were sitting on that window. Hyper just investing a little bit too much in the actual site. Not doing that much outside of it. Now, I don't think they liked what they saw downstairs on Church, and that was Vicious's first victory. Church is still open, though Cash remains locked, and will be locked until the very next round. So Hyper's going to go back to Jim. Now, there's a couple things that I think really need to be focused on and emphasized here that weren't present in that last particular play. Number one, your hold of construction, they fell off very early. If you recall, there was the kill that happened very early. It was Habibi, went down first 30 seconds. They lost complete hold of the one side of the map upstairs that you need to hold.
Yeah.
That allowed Vicious to take their time and plot out the rest of it. And then when they did stack up the bodies on the Gym and Master windows, because they had lost that presence early on and they didn't commit somebody to a rotate, they had no control and were basically just hoping that they could win the fights as the execute from Vicious went down. Didn't happen. This time around, you have to be able to hold Cash a little bit heavier. And I mean, that's going to be difficult to do because Habibi is still up there. He's got, it looks like a mute jammer or two at his disposal. But still, Vicious is very, very close. 30 seconds in, they're already right back knocking on that door.
Yeah, they're not wasting any time to go in. And they should be able to take down, there you go. That's one Evil Eye removed from play. Now, this is much better. Having the castle alive, at least this time, he remembers that, hey, I can get shot through that drone hole, so you know what? I am not going to peek that. In the meantime, it's Rich from below trying to open up the hole to deal with the operators inside of Cash Room. He'll hit with one lifeline, and even the second one was expended, so there's only Gizmot lifelines that are still available for the Zofia. Habibi just remaneuvers, puts himself in a better position where it's much more difficult to lob any utility at him and take him out. As in the meantime, it's Nog on the Habana knocking on their castle barricade here. You're not really going to use too many X-Kairos, so some teams will use one set to take down the castle barricade and then leave the second one on, where you usually see the bandit because it's usually preset to be opened up.
I don't want to overlook what we just saw for a second there, but you saw Nog trying to open up that castle barricade. There was still a default cam on the outside that was opened up, and that default cam is going to give you full view of the windows over on Gym and Master. That's extremely beneficial, and if Vicious isn't able to take that out, that could really serve to bite them. Speaking of being able to hold this Cash Room quite well, Habibi with 2 kills, everybody just wandering into his sight. He'll dance around the drone, and he's also got the Jaeger of Nikki not too far off. The Jaeger will walk in, and we'll see if Habibi's just going to be patient enough as Nikki falls to Oasis, but Vicious is in dire straits right now. There's extra to take one down. Habibi jumps in, and while he can't get the kill, he'll be credited with Nog and the castle putting in so much work. Everything falling apart for Vicious, thwarted by that mute jammer inside of Cash. Ms. Zofia expending her destructibility a little bit too early, I think. Only 30 seconds to go, and Lojax will drone, but it's a 1v4. This is an almost hopeless situation as he will have to drop through the hatch and become extremely vulnerable. And there you go, Habibi with the 4K, putting the 4 in Lojax's name to complete this. And that's match point in favor of Hyper.
Yeah, I have to question as well the fact that Thermite was not used before. They were running the double hard breach. Why not use him to open up the wall? The impacts had already been used by the castle. We saw there that he had no utility left. Could have been much easier to deal with. I mean, he just sat on the side and hoped for the crossfire with the Jaeger to work out in his advantage. At the end, it did work, and the bandit was able to sneak up from behind. Overall, very questionable decisions that were done to try and deal with Cash Room. And it ends up working very well in the side of Hyper. Now, the big question is, will they make it a 6-4 and take map 1, or will it go into overtime? Because looking at the history of this matchup so far, overtime is looking pretty darn likely.
I'm interested in this Jackal pick here that we see. I'm interested in it for a couple of reasons.
How so? Yes.
I mean, Jackal does have the secondary shotgun. It's going to be the only soft destruction that you have, and the only reliable, consistent soft destruction outside of Zofia. Zofia obviously comes with the 2 grenades inside of her grenade launcher. Whether there's breaching charges on Zofia, which is something we've seen a lot of people play. I think Pengu was the first time that we really got a good view at Zofia using those breaching charges, but I'm pretty certain we've seen them in Latin America a number of times too, in terms of Pro League play when you've seen the operator use that. But you don't have a buck, you don't have a sledge. Clubhouse is a very soft destruction heavy map, especially if you're going to be attacking one of the floors from below. Buck can put a number of holes into the floor of CCTV and cache. Obviously, Jackal will be able to do that with his shotgun, though it will be severely limited in comparison to what the Skeleton Key can do. But I mean, Clubhouse, the reason why you're bringing a Jackal, by and large, is he has a good gun and he does have smokes. Great, but there are a number of operators that do. Glaz does. Dokkaebi might not have as good weaponry as Jackal does, but she brings smokes and arguably much more annoying, much more stifling gadget, especially when used in conjunction with Lion. But at the same time, I'm puzzled because I don't find that Hyper have been using their roamers so effectively that a Jackal is needed. And I think that that's utility that's being misused here. And certainly in that last round, they were thwarted by 1 mute jammer. That was it. You needed to take out the mute jammer at that cache wall. They weren't able to do that. A Twitch or a Thatcher would have gone way farther on that composition than a Jackal, and we could see the similar thing here.
Look at Vicious taking so much damage on Nog here. So even early on, one of the important hard breachers already tagged pretty darn low, and they're going to need him for later if they want to push in from the opposite end of the map and come in from construction into cache. So fortunately, if this does turn into a push from one side of the balcony, that Maestro is going to be nigh impossible to deal with the ACOG on the Alda.
And here you go. See, this is what I was talking about. This soft destruction. Oh, the little is left of Nog will be taken out by a Nitro Cell. Likely could have grazed him as Oasis was on a collision course there with K2, the pulse falling off and heading into the bathroom. And there you go. The deceptively long range of that cardiac sensor on full display as the pulse is just going to sit and wait. Very difficult for him to peek this, and now it's in a position where he has the intel, could possibly try to use that to his advantage and maybe even go for a peek as here comes the Jackal back down. The 2 operators, the Hunter and the Hunted, Oasis pre-fire in towards the bathroom door, expecting the pulse to have pushed out, but K2 is already farther off the beat than I think he anticipated.
Yeah, he's very close up on the stairs. Can push up and land an extra kill on Oasis if need be. As he hears him walking away, the drone is not being used. They just set it up here to deal with K2. Unfortunately, they don't really know he's already here, and there you go. That's 1 kill. Can he actually land the kill? He's down to 1 bullet in the magazine. Reloads his Lojax. Will get 1 the spray onto the Jackal to take him out, and K2 will connect. He knows there's 1 more to deal with, but it's Lojax again to get the second one. But straight with the refrag. Rich Vicious is down, and that's extra. The last one on Lojax to make it a win for Hyper. They take map number 1, a total of 6-4 on Clubhouse. And now we get ready for our second one. This was a lot closer than Hyper would have liked it to be. But now maybe map 2, Oregon, will be the one that Vicious are waiting for to bring it back. It's more of a default map. Clubhouse has its own intricacies that make things a bit more complicated to play, either on attack or on defense. So we'll get to see how that plays out on more of a default map. Again, operator bans are going to play a very heavy part of this. Oregon is still one of the maps where you don't have to rely on operator bans as much as others. Whereas if you ban, like we saw the Maverick ban on Clubhouse, it changes a lot of the strategy that you might have planned. Whereas on Oregon, the most interesting ban that I might imagine is the Capitao ban, which we've seen played quite a bit in professional play. Can do quite a bit of damage on Kid Storms and on the laundry site.
Oregon is a very interesting map. It's long been a map that pros have called it this. We've referred to it on the broadcast as where good teams go to lose.
Yeah.
And I mean, Vicious is definitely the team that has a longer run together. On paper, they're the team that should be more experienced than Hyper in terms of PC competitive level play. Now, it didn't really mean that much in the matchup we just saw. On defense, Vicious made a number of pretty critical mistakes. Hyper took those and ran with them. But then when they transitioned to defense, there weren't a lot of mistakes that we saw being committed from Hyper when Hyper was defending. And in fact, Hyper actually looked to be strengthening up on their play the longer it went on. And part of that was that Vicious ran a very static operator composition, and their lineup really didn't bring what they needed to. You know, you don't necessarily need a Thatcher on a lot of sites, especially if hard destruction is not a big focus, because you can possibly, you know, buck or shoot out the floor from below and take out the bandit charges. Something that we saw the Zofia do on Vicious in that very final round. Get underneath, blow up the bandit charges. There you go, you got the wall. You don't really need a Thatcher to do that. You don't need a Twitch to do that, etc. But Vicious just looked like they were a little bit stuck in one gear, and they couldn't find their way out of it. And Hyper were able to continuously bend them until eventually something broke on Vicious's end. And the thing is that the downsides to Vicious's play, I don't think are going to go away on Oregon. In fact, that the inability to sit still, to not peek, to know where things are, to watch flanks, to do proper drone work, that's arguably more critical on Oregon, because typically Oregon sites will see more roamers that might not be in the same spots. Yeah, you realize if you're attacking laundry supply room, somebody's going to be in meeting, maybe, but what about if somebody surprises you and you've got somebody over in tower or somebody on that second floor? That's a weakness of Vicious that they're going to need to fix.
Yeah, we'll see how they play out in this one. As before, you mentioned the Jackal in the very last round. I mean, the thing that arguably shut down Vicious more than anything else was the Pulse, right? They were playing it in more of a roamer style. Well, you bring one of the operators that is literally built to deal with roamers, yet you never really use the scan or never given the opportunity to do so. So we'll see if those changes actually materialize in this second map, as we'll see Lion and Glaz be the two bans. So Capitao will be available. Same thing for Habana and the Thermite. If we see Laundry first, I'm very much expecting a Capitao, Thatcher, Habana lineup, which works out pretty darn well. Mira's going to get banned as well. Not surprising at all. And last should be somewhere between Echo and the Maestro. Sometimes we'll see the Valkyrie being removed. Very rarely we'll see an operator like Smoke, for example, and there you go. The Echo will be taken out of play, but it does leave Clash available. And Clash has not been used yet. But she's an operator that can very much throw a wrench in any of the attacking strategies.
I do appreciate that over all of these matches, we've seen a lot of similarities in defender bans. Mira, Maestro, and Echo, by far and away, leading the pack on ban rate so far today. I like that Hyper is going to ban Lion. They realized Lion was a big part of every single attack from Vicious. He was run every round by Pixel. It's not a surprise to see them turn around and deal with that. And then Glaz, of course, being able to pin down the defenders. Both these operators have a very profound impact on Oregon as a whole. In fact, it was Lion who almost completely upheaved the way that Oregon was played last season in a number of different leagues and settings. So it doesn't surprise me to see that change happen. And it's good on Hyper to be able to take that and learn from it as it goes along. It just shows that they're paying attention to this matchup as much as they need to be. And it's also going to allow Vicious, these 5 rounds on attack, to be completely Lionless. And I mean, Vicious already struggled on a number of attacks for a variety of reasons, and Lion really did help them. It definitely helped that all-in style of play that they were able to use on a couple of their executes, specifically the 2 rounds that they won. That's not going to be there for them. So that's going to need to be a change on Vicious's side of things. And it might actually be beneficial to Vicious, because it means that they now have that one role freed up to possibly bring a Buck, to possibly bring a Thatcher, a Twitch, maybe something outside of that. And as you can see, yeah, they're going to bring the Jackal again for Oasis. They're going to drop the Hibana, but look at the utility that's on the board for them. A Capitao and a Buck right off the bat. That's something that could have gone a long way with them on their clubhouse play.
Yeah, and something discovered very recently as this morning, there's a couple spots that if you're attacking bedroom, Capitao would be extremely powerful on. And even in Ashe, if you have her hold a long angle at the end, and one day, maybe at some point, I'll talk about it. But right now, we'll keep it a bit of a secret before we, show it off. At some point, it's the latest of discoveries. But Nox is going to walk in. they have a player in Armory here for the defense, so you have to deal with the Maestro. It's actually playing here on the outside. No, the Ella here. And that's extra. They'll get shot down. Speaking of the Maestro, it's Pixel that'll get shot down and a very quick refrag. At least Hyper lose out the Ella, but at what cost? They traded against the Echo, the Capitao, excuse me. And that's a pretty darn good trade here for the defensive Hyper.
And there's control of this upstairs Armory side of things in hand for Vicious. It's a good start. They did lose Pixel as the Capitao, and now Rich is just going to get fed into the machine of Maestro, as that deployable shield is going to prove its worth. That's two very valuable picks that have come from the Maestro of Strage, just anchoring down that doorway inside of dorms. A really strategic spot for him to be at, and that's going to put the pinch on Vicious here. Though, they will discover that K2, the Legion, is playing not too far by of Oasis downstairs in the lobby as they try to commit their forces to this joint push. A couple bodies up top of Vicious as they've been able to open up that generator wall and now take out the deployable shield, which will mean that Strage is going to have to play a bit more defensive inside of dorms, but that actually works out quite well with the timing because it's 1 minute and 10 seconds and you don't want to be losing Strage to that over-aggression when you know that he's going to be able to hold a heavy angle with the ACOG of that LMG and stop anybody in their tracks.
Well, in the meantime, Oasis is trying to find an angle himself, just going all the way up top. Nog peeking in through the main hallway, but he's unable to find the Maestro just yet. He knows there's a play on the back, trying to time the frag grenade, and it's thrown in the back. Will do a bit of damage, but not enough to make. Oh my God, Strage finding the fire. That's the second one, and LoJack's going down. He turns around at 180s for one more, but it's Nicky to get the last on Vicious here. Oasis from Vicious. Yeah, he's going to be crying his heart out at the end of that one. Reference game 1 point.
Strage 4K doing most of the damage as well in that final encounter, though he wasn't able to get credited with the kill. What an incredible round. And I mean, that's exactly the way that Kids Dorms usually plays out. If you have somebody anchoring in dorms, especially with an ACOG, you're able to play those engagements. Now, previously, you'd usually have it be an MP5, which isn't the same potent machine that you see in the hands of somebody as the Alda. The Alda is, as of right now that the SMG-12 has seen itself nerfed, the Alda might be one of the best weapons on defense.
Yeah.
It has an incredible amount of fire rate. It does a lot of damage. It's got an ACOG. It doesn't have a lot of recoil. It's got the tightening of the hip fire, and it's got a huge magazine. All of those things going in favor of it, equipped with great gadgets, mean that Maestro can single-handedly save you rounds. On Clubhouse, a lot of times it's going to be his gadgets in places where he can then take the long-range fights without exposing himself. On Oregon, he's going to play a little bit more defensively and conservatively here, relying on those evil eyes. But Strage put in all the work that was needed there, and there was zero answer from Vicious to be able to take care of him.
And the big question was, why was there nobody holding off from the windows? I mean, you still need the crossfire, and I was mentioning one of those spots. Now, there is a spot that is right next to tower by the shed, where if you can get your look correctly on the side of the wall, you can vault all the way up to the top of the shed. It's a bit complicated, but you can do it. And you can have the Capitao holding off from the outside there. Very, very difficult to spot him and actually take him out, especially if you don't have an ACOG. But also, it gives him a clear line of sight to lob his bolts all the way at the door. It is a perfect position that you can use to your advantage. But regardless, nobody peeking from that edge. Kind of, make things very easy for the defenders that only have to watch one angle through the hallway. Yeah, you kind of pretty much give them the advantage. So Hyper able to capitalize on it. Meantime, Vicious are bringing the Blackbeard plus the Jackal and the Capitao again. Interesting that they're bringing the Thermite as their hard breach for this round. Hyper do have both Ella and Vigil to play with.
And I know that Oasis likes this Jackal, but once again, I gotta be confused at the Jackal pick on Oregon as well. There's better smoke operators they can use. Once again, you could put a Dokkaebi in there. There are teams that will run shields here that have it available to them. You've got the Capitao as well with the smokes that are available, and that's what Vicious is going to be focusing on with Pixel. But, I mean, Pixel was opening death on that last round, so Jackal not really proving his worth, and there he goes. Once again, you're putting a very heavy utility-based operator as your entry. That's not exactly the smartest play for them to do, and now they're going to lose the Jackal as well. So all sets of smokes completely gone as this roaming force of Hyper is just too potent right now. It is a sign of desperation, though, for Vicious that Holiday Nog is on the Blackbeard. That's an operator he knows and loves, and he can frag when put in that position quite reliably. How well does it work on Oregon, though? That's the better question.
Yeah, the question is, clearing out tower, was that the initial phase of going for a construction push? As you're not really too sure with the way that things have changed with those 2 picks to deal with Vicious. So Hyper looking pretty. I'll force Nog down the stairs. He's got a lot of work here to do. So I have to walk on in. Alrighty, sprays and gets a ton of damage actually done onto K2, who's down on the floor and will get shot down by Nog. So that's the first one, but it's extra to find the top angle. Take him out. Vicious, another one in their advantage, but it's Nikki to refrag, leaving it all to the Blackbeard, half on health, and that's diffuser down. The Ash was holding the diffuser, and she was fairly far away from the Blackbeard. The focus was not on the site, unfortunately, and now it's all to the Blackbeard to go up, but he finds the first one extra down on the floor, but there's 2 still to deal with. Doesn't have diffuser, so Nog will have to play just for kills, and we all know the shotgun is perfect to deal with him. There you go, Habibi with the dispatch. The M59 in hand just blasts him back to the spawner.
Very close to losing himself there after you saw 2 impact frags from Nog and then 1 impactless as yes, that diffuser was down. But once again, you had LoJax up top just by meeting hall, looking into attic. The Jaeger is situated at a rotate. You can see that the rotate hole is in there, and there's no drone work done.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a simple matter of the fact they didn't have drone? Was it a simple matter of the fact they didn't drone? That's 2 entries now that we've seen from Vicious, and they've been caught off guard by it every single time. And that really speaks to me that something is going awry in terms of their coordination. They don't have it within them right now to be able to feed that information to one another and get those calls. Even Nog's kills that came out, those 3 kills right there. I mean, the Ella might have been a flank drone, but the other 2 were just purely him aiming down the corridor in the basement and getting the kills that he was needed. And that was it. So they've lucked into a couple kills because Hyper did tend to throw bodies at the 1 remaining attacker because I think they knew that at that point they had it, but the diffuser was down upstairs. All the smoke needed to do was wait. Nog read it correctly. He decided to go frag hunting because I think he realized there'd be somebody playing on it, and if he was able to get that, he would then have to provoke a fight with the Jaeger. But, I mean, you have to go for the diffuser at some point. Blackbeard is not a fast operator.
No.
I mean, overall, that round really, more than anything, I think, was done the moment that Pixel and Oasis went down. The moment they lost their Capitao and their Jackal, the moment that they lost all their smokes, they lost great tracking ability, they lost the ability to cut down rotates in Laundry Supply Room, which is so pivotal with a Capitao when used correctly on Laundry and Supply Room. I think that was really the fatal blow here. So, we now have a 3rd site coming in, and it's going to be Tower, and this will be an exciting thing to watch given the pace that seems to be set by the opening kills between these 2 teams.
Yeah, we'll see how Hyper play this one out, because this set is much more complicated to play, and you're having the Evil Eye should give them... I wonder what the angles are that you get from it. I don't know if you can watch one of the windows through it. You can watch the lower window, okay. So it can set you up for a final peek, and there you go. That's Zofia and the Capitao down as Nock will have to turn around and take down the Maestro. It's a big loss here, but the Zofia and the Capitao, that's cash money here from Strage.
That was I believe the kids call that a Poggers play, as I'm sure there are people in the chat who are likely explaining that.
Yeah,
so.
not around the age of 54, as both of us are.
But yeah, 2 huge kills. And I mean, yes, you lose the utility of the Evil Eye cams, but you take out the Zofia as well as the Capitao, and Pixel just having a rough day, to say the least. Nog on Repel will see the door underneath him blow open. That's something that he'll have to be conscious of, and whether or not he's going to have somebody there. He's got the shield in his face, and he just destroys Nikki. And this is what I said. You put Nog as a comfort pick on that Blackbeard, and oh no, Habibi doesn't see it. The 1 railing in his way will not be able to capture the Blackbeard, and Nog will have to change out shields. So, a lot of work to be done from Vicious, but they do find themselves equalizing. That's good. They still have the Ying available, and every Candela is on the board. Nog taking a lot of damage, but oh, what a shot! He's going to gun everybody down in the process before K2 has to use a C4. But man, what a flick from Nog.
Yeah, that was pretty tough to watch, I have to say. It's a fantastic 180 here to get the kill, and somehow we turn this into 2v2, and there's still Candelas. Those are very tough to deal with. As at least they'll force the mute back. Can they catch the Ying off guard? No, they'll do a decent chunk of damage here to K2, as no damage will be done to either the Thermite or the Ying in this position. So T3 is not being held, and this is what Hyper are afraid of, as Vicious are moving in bit by bit into the site. They'll have to deal with the LF extra, and he's spotted and shot down. So Oasis taking no damage here. The Fuser should get planted as K2 will get one. Does he know where Lojax is? They go in for the 1v1. K2 rotating back as no, Lojax will find the headshot through the wall. And the round that started off so well for Hyper somehow is brought back. And you know what, Nog? Yeah, that's a Christmas miracle right there.
Nog on that Blackbeard is just frightening.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, is that he can frag very, very well on that operator when you put him on it. And I think they're going to just continue to do this and work the utility around him. The thing for Vicious is that they close that gap on that round just simply through fragging potential, not through utility at all, because they've been very utility low after they've lost the first two after they've lost their first two members to opening deaths. And that's really what's come out here. So we'll see if anything will change. Pixel is very committed to making this Capitao work, though we haven't really seen what he's capable of with that operator. So we'll see what they can bring out in total as we sit in the 6-pick phase. Keep in mind that Ying does not have smokes anymore, so it's going to be rich on the Montaigne with smokes available, but there goes Oasis. On to Zofia. So lots of disruption that's going to be available at hand here, and I think that's a wise choice. The site will be dorms. We've gone back to the main rotation now, as it's been 3 rounds, so dorms will unlock for Hyper. Smokes are pretty standard here. You can cut off the push from kids' dorms to the top of White Stairs. You can cut off Generator. You can cut off the doorway from Master over on the Armory side of things. You can cut off the big window as well. Lots of chances for you to use smokes adequately here, as long as you burn out the ADS, and that will be present. As you can see, that's what Nicky's going to be running, and he's been running that Jaeger a lot. Zofia is one of the best operators, let's be honest.
Yes.
At burning.
At everything, really. But
she's in a very powerful position, but those concussive mines, you can use those, and then you don't need to worry about the ADSs. And on top of that, Capitao's arrows don't get caught by the ADSs either. So there's a lot of ways for Vicious to be able to perform and execute. The problem is that they have never really gotten to that stage.
Yeah.
Because they've been cut off at the knees by Hyper.
Yeah. Unfortunate here, but Vicious being able to take that round into their hands definitely put things in their advantage. Morale-wise, they got to be feeling pretty darn good here and very comfortable with their own skills and play style. Now what they need to do is, of course, bring the Thermite upstairs into the bedroom, get into the closet, open things up to go into Generator. It's usually what you're going to be doing here to deal with the defense. As bringing the Monty definitely makes things easier to clear out anyone in Armory. The Ella that's been a bit of a thorn in their back, that high rate of fire Scorpion, can get shut down fairly easily from the side, and there you go. Using the Zofia to their advantage is Habibi that'll go down. K2 with a refrag onto Rich. He can't get the last as Oasis gets one, but he trades against Nicky. And he still is alive. And Extra is as well, so they haven't been able to deal with him just sitting on the floor. Strage has taken a lot of damage on the Maestro as he moves into small dorms by Generator. And Nicky should get spotted here by the drone. No,
I'm almost certain that must have saw him.
I hope
almost
so.
certain. And here's the other thing too, is there you go. Yeah, he was spotted out. Great job from Nog. I don't know if they know that they've downed Extra. They must know, but he's going to be able to feed all this information to Strage. Extra's time is almost up. And that wick is still burning. Strange now, realizing that there's going to be a push inside of Closet. There's a C4 down, or there's a Claymore down, rather, and he'll see that. He'll take it out. There's a drone in front of him, too, and he'll push up, I think knowing that there's an act of desperation here, but he will expose his back to that doorway, which is exactly where Pixel is situated. If Pixel, or Lojax, rather, if Lojax is able to get off drones here, he could possibly catch the Maestro. Strage watching the one window to jump in, which is where Pixel is located. It does look like Strage just got spotted on drone, and he'll hop right in, but no, he's not spotted. There's one on big window. It's going to be the Blackbeard, and very low HP for Strage.
He's got to deal with the Blackbeard, and Nog yet again. Navy SEAL operator too much to deal with, as the face shield protects him quite well, and of course the Maestro there being low on health. There's not really much that you can do there at the end. He was caught in the crossfire. Unfortunately, you can't drone as the defense in that case. So that ends up in a tie. So Vicious with a very efficient way of attacking, realizing how important Armory is for the defense. They bring in the Monty. They try to deal with the Ella, down her, but then there's the peak, and they end up losing the 1v1 fights, even though they should have had the advantage, especially having the Zofia in garage. But it ends up working well for them. Yet again, close round, but we'll see the second one being put on the board by Vicious. Hyper with one more round until the end of this half, playing on the defense, and they're going to go down to Laundry Supply Room yet again. The big question is, will Vicious go for a standard play from the main lobby, or will they try to drop in from construction using the tower as well? There's obviously a couple ways that you can try to get things done, and having the Maestro, yeah, that's a tough operator to deal with on Laundry, as there was a point where we're like, yeah, with Lion it's impossible to play it, especially with Mira being banned. And now you're like, oh, but I have Maestro. I can see through your trickery and your smokes.
Strage has been able to frag out quite well alongside having the utility available. I mean, he did trade his life on tower very early.
An 80-round box magazine kind of helps out considerably.
Oh, absolutely. And it's very clear now that the strategy that Vicious is employing is Operation Blackbeard, as Nog is just killing everything that falls inside of his path. And I mean, it's not even so much that Nog is capable of doing quite well on what has always been his best operator, but more than that, it's that you've got great gunners on Hyper side of things. K2 and Extra have been no slouches in being able to roam effectively. Strage has been making his mark on both sides of the field as well in terms of utility usage, gadget usage, and then killing potential. That's not really it. It's that Blackbeard makes you have to play a much more conservative style. And he has single-handedly shut down the brazenness that we saw from Hyper, because they can't be peeking everybody at every time, because, well, if you peek a Blackbeard, you find yourself in bad straits. I say this about not being able to peek all the time, and well, they do just that, and Hyper will be rewarded with kill number 1. Rich, the Ash, who tries to entry, will do so unsuccessfully. And now it's Extra, with the Gizmat mines getting thrown out. He's got a Blackbeard staring right down at him, and Pixel as well. This is certain death for Extra unless some heroics can happen. And I think he realizes that it's time to get out of there. Strage will get a kill onto Oasis, though, and there you go. 2 bodies lined up for Extra. There's flank potential now in Small Tower if they decide to move over in that direction. And, well, they're going to double up. Both Nog and Pixel will be there. Nog's face shield taking some damage, and Pixel, some of his life will be taken away. But other than that, they managed to clear out Extra quite well. Takes about a minute to do so.
Yeah, but they lose the Ash and the Zofia in the meantime. And remember, this is a Laundry attack. So clearing out the top floor is taking way too much time from Vicious. And, you know, Hyper exchanging the Ella for 2 operators on the opposite end, especially someone like Zofia, who's great at burning the ADSs before the Capitao does his damage with the bolts. Yeah, it's not a great start for Vicious on the attack. But we've seen them bring it back, and K2 is right above his opponents. So there's one hole, and of course with the Gizmot mine having been popped here by the movement of the Blackbeard, it'll give information for K2, who repositions himself in the classroom, and knowing that his opponents will try to come in and shut down the side here and open up the hatch. Unfortunately, go down to Nog. A lot of damage done to the Thermite, but not enough to finish him off. It's a 3v3. And just now, Vicious are starting their work on opening up the hatch, but Nog yet again face-checking with the shield. Makes things work. Only the last 2 anchors alive here for Hyper. They do have the smokes to play with.
Very difficult for them to be able to deal with that Blackbeard. He walked down the stairs, and K2 saw his legs for a split second, but got distracted by the thermite of Lojax. The good thing is that there's plant denial in spades right now, as everybody appears to just be running in place, and here we go. Smoke's going down, asphyxiating bullets. This will freeze everyone. Habibi is going to be very, very important, as so will Strage. He's very low on HP, but he'll walk right into the fire. Habibi will need to do tons of work. Habibi with 2! He's going to put us in a 1v1, but he will miss it, and Nog single-handedly turning the tide of this game. 12 frags. He is unstoppable. And that will be Vicious taking 3 in a row. They have been indomitable since picking up that Blackbeard swap. But there's no Blackbeard available for you on defense, which is where Vicious is going to be now.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, let's be honest. But we'll see how they now face against Hyper on the attack. Hyper don't seem to be looking to bring in a Blackbeard. At least possible 6th pick. The Doc being run out, and he's going to get locked in. All right. I think both teams are going to be comfortable with this. It's Kizdorms and the Hall. So the Doc for holding off in the hallway. You also have the Maestro just in case. And they're going to 6-pick the Vigil last second. Okay, so maybe a tower side Vigil or bathroom side. So it's definitely a good operator to have. We'll see if they can even use those impacts to their advantage. There's quite a few places in late round situations that the Vigil can save your team if he is still alive. Or maybe just use him in around tower and even downstairs in the basement to blindside your opponents. Hyper should have a pretty darn good lineup here. They only have the one hard breacher, but they have everything to deal with utility that's been set in and around the map. And we're reminding people of the olden days of Pro League Season 1 and afterwards of House, where you would come in and, oh, they're playing Thatcher. They have an EMP. I'm just going to throw it on the roof, and suddenly everything is dead. I have just single-handedly dealt with all of the utility by just chucking an EMP on the roof.
I mean, those are the olden days, right? And I mean, House is, when you think about it,
it's a great competitive map.
When you think about the times that House made sense in competitive play, we are far past.
Did it ever?
Now. I mean,
the big highlight was still ends back then Sisu's run out on, well, failed run out basically. It's a hilarious thing. I highly urge you to rewatch that from all the way back when. But you know, I guess the comparisons kind of stop after the whole, oh, I can chuck the EMP on the roof.
Well, that was really something there.
Yeah.
As he was traveling through time and space, they're breaking the space-time continuum, so to speak. But
the space-time evil geniuses.
Oh, yes, of course. Over on the tower side of things, control right now for Hyper. They managed to push back every single one of the defenders and sequestered them over on the dorm side of things. K2 inside a meeting hall is going to get the one lone player playing off site. That was the Vigil. He gets pinned down, and you can say so long. Now, Nikki doesn't realize that Armory is totally clear, and he's got some free sailing up there. He'll pull out the grenade launcher to possibly try and take the Evil Eye. There might be an ADS in his way, but it does sound like mission accomplished as it will connect. There's an ADS that's going to be playing on that white stairs next to the Maestro of Oasis, and that's as good a spot as any, as he is going to be impervious at least to two separate explosives that might get tossed his way. And there was Strage, the Hibana. That is a very good target for Hyper to get out, as that's the lone hard breacher. There's only a minute left for Hyper to be able to pull this one off, and Vicious Gaming with the lead. This is a good spot to be in. Looking the wrong way is Habibi. Lojax gets a very easy kill, and, well, this gets even more difficult for Hyper as they're going to lose the numbers advantage.
Yeah, oh no, the Maestro was on the camera the instant the Ash was going for the barbed wire. And at least here, Vicious will get one. Nikki with the refrag, though, to make it a 3v2. There's still C4 available here, but the Zofia just comes in and misses the early shots as Nog is able to turn around and land it. The SMG-11, K2 rushing in. He'll drop one. He fought, almost running for the second, but it's Nog somehow still alive with a shotgun in hand. Sliver of health is all he needed to quick scope that Ash and take us back. Here's Vicious. They're looking much, much better than how we saw them on map 1. And it seems like Blackbeard and no Blackbeard, Nog's able to get those kills.
And that's 4 consecutive rounds that have been on the board for Vicious now, as it definitely feels like the tides are turning, and we're only a possible couple rounds away from seeing border here between these two teams. And I think the prediction was correct that this would be much closer than we saw of the Elephant Gang, members only match that we saw earlier.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, Hyper has definitely stepped up their game. This looks like a much better team than competed against Rogue a couple weeks back as well. You know, Rogue made very quick work of them, and I don't think broke anywhere near as much of a sweat as Vicious has to so far. So good on Hyper to be able to regroup and come back in and play a much tighter style of game. So could we see this be the penultimate round? Could we have match point next up and then border shortly thereafter? Well, going downstairs is going to be Vicious Games, Vicious Gaming rather, who've been playing a vicious set of games so far, at least over the last 4 rounds. And yeah, Holiday Nog was a big contributor, and he was able to kickstart that offense, I think, more than anything, which is now carried over onto defense.
Yeah, so far he's kickstarting my heart. I mean, this is definitely a player that has shined throughout this entire matchup. We'll get to see if we go for a third map, if they cannot clean up this second one. As of course, right now he's sitting pretty darn high up on that scoreboard with 15 frags in the past 6 rounds. It's an impressive set of numbers right there. But you have 2 ACOGs that are available for Vicious, so of course they're bringing the Doc, they're bringing the Maestro. They have the Smoke as well, and the ADSs of the Jaeger, very standard, but also the Mute. But that's where Extra comes in. You have the EMPs. You clear those out pretty darn easily. There's not much that can stop you here on the Hyper side. It's just that there's ACOGs, so you got to be careful of how you peek those long angles, as they can always come back to bite you. But having the Zofia definitely does help.
Upstairs Sledge just absolutely wrecking house for the time being. And, well, there's something that was just overlooked for a second there. The reinforced wall and the hatch, that's perfect for a thermite, which Hyper doesn't have. So they have a Hibana, and that's the thing. This is a great strategy from Vicious against a Hibana. Now, not that they could have known that there wouldn't be a thermite on the board necessarily, but this is going to be very difficult here, as you're not going to have the same opening. And in fact, the wall is now there's 2 Mute Jammers being down to try to give as much coverage as possible, but cannot do it. They will lose the hatch and both Mute Jammers at the same time. That's a good play from Hyper overall, though they would have been in a better position if they did have a thermite available to try and accomplish that.
Yeah, and you can also chuck your drone farther in than the Mute Jammer range, so it gets disrupted for the duration of launch, but once it hits the ground, you can use it back again. And okay, one Ash Charge is going to get burned in, as the Zofia has not used her utility just yet, but not the end of the world. There is a bulletproof camera in the back, and it's bulletproof. You can't shoot it, man.
There is range for you to hit around the side of it, but it's very difficult to do, which is what I think they were going off of. Now, because there's still a 5v5, you're anticipating that there's likely going to be 1 member of the defense that's playing off of site. It's not usual that you'll have 4 here. Strage possibly going for the plant, trying to bait out a C4. The C4 will miss, but he's going to inhale so much of that toxic babe, and he's going to get down in the process. He will miss time it, and Nog credited with that kill, as Pixel now jumps in too. Habibi taking damage from that smoke, and Vicious in excellent position to just ride this out over the next 35 seconds. Rich, who's playing still a roam game, well, he wasn't able to do much as he lost Nicky's attention, and there goes Lojax to Nicky. So Rich healing himself back up, as it's the 3 anchors of Vicious still left alive. Habibi very close to HP. Oasis will tear right through Nicky, and Diffuse will need to go down. That'll be K2 going for the plan. Smoke going down, excellent timing, trying to get good coverage, but he'll have to escape the coat of yellow gas hanging over top of him. Oh no, Rich with the big kill, and Nog will get another, and Nog has just been so good in this matchup, absolutely commandeering every round, whether he's on attack or defense, and that is 5 rounds in a row for Vicious. Match point.
Aye, aye, Captain. All hands on deck definitely here for Vicious Gaming. As we'll see if the Sharks will bite here from Hyper. So far, they've been pretty toothless, right? So they're going to have to bring it. I mean, this is Watchtower. This is your time to shine if you're Hyper. They bring in the Maverick, but I don't know how big of a help that'll be when pushing into towers. There's not really much reinforcement in the way. So, 6th pick so far, pretty clear, and the Jackal again. I mean, I know we criticized the Jackal pick, and that was on the Vicious side. But it could work out. However, this time it'll be a quick switch over to the Capitao instead of the Jackal. So it can burn through the ADSs fairly easily, because obviously the crossbow bolts are not affected by ADSs at all. So taking control of T3 should theoretically be a lot easier for Hyper. You're looking to have that advantage, and if you can get it done, then you already have a huge bit of line of sight to just hold down. The staircase is going to be the only way that you can realistically be contested, if we're not mentioning the rotation through the attic. So there's not much that you can do against the attacking side if they have control of T3. At least the mute jammers here will make it a lot more complicated to get information as you're walking into the site. But you still need to take control of the bottom floor if you're coming in on the attack, just in case.
I'm actually very curious to see how they use this Maverick, because I don't see a lot of opportunities here. I think that this was a pick possibly anticipating that they would go towards Kitchen and not necessarily Tower. On a Kitchen side of things, Maverick is pretty influential. He can be able to open up that small tower wall. You can put pressure on inside a meeting hall if they decide to forego meeting hall control, which some teams do, puzzlingly, even though oftentimes you'll see 1 or 2 bodies possibly in meeting hall. I'm interested to see what they're going to make use of this Maverick here. Now, they could possibly run him down attic, which is, for the time being, reinforced on at least one side, and that's where K2 is right now. But no, they're going to actually use Strage's exothermic to blow it open. So, yeah, this Maverick is possibly going to continue to go all the way through attic. That would be my guess, but now it's Sledge taking points, so this could just be utility that doesn't necessarily need to be used here. Oasis eliminates K2, so the question about what will the Maverick do? Well, die early was the answer. Not really much of a use there at all, as he will fall.
Yeah, and Nog just sitting back and try to see if he can collect a kill or two here and there. The Sledge will peek, but he's not spotted by the smoke. Somehow, Nog just peeks up and gets him. How does that even connect? He was tagged so low. That's now 2 kills. The way of Vicious looking to take us to map 3 on border, as this game has definitely been, as we predicted, very, very close between both teams. Extra opening up the side of the stage. Not going to find anything in the rear stage. The Thermite just running away. The C4 almost taking him out. Sliver of health left on the Thermite. Hyper definitely down here, as Nog has taken a decent chunk of damage. Unfortunately, this time they don't have the dock to bring him back up, and they'll find the angle with Rich as he falls back. And it's 1 down. Straight as low on health, as if I can find my English here. And Nicky just trying to burn his utility. Unfortunately, it's being burned by the ADSs, and Lojax is in a very good spot here in T3. Not going to be much to fight against.
I think low as hell applies there as well. Absolutely. You know, it's next to no HP for Strage as he'll get as extra gets picked back up. Holiday Nog had hit 18 kills, and whether he'll be able to go for more of that. Well, there goes Pixel, the mute fall, and Nog will push right up and see Nicky, but there you go, Nog 19. Can he get to 20? You're going to see the Jaeger try to battle off all those asphyxiating bolts. Running out of time, Hyper in the middle of their death throws. Oasis with 1 plant going down. Strage so low. Nog, can you get it? Hit 20, my boy. He'll pop right back up, and, well, he's in pretty good control, but if they decide to pinch him through attic, that could be very difficult. Oh, he'll miss! Rich credited with the kill, and that will be it. 6 rounds in a row, Gasson. Vicious looking absolutely incredible, and 19 kills.
19-3.
What a performance.
Wow.
Absolutely incredible.
I'm surprised after how close map 1 was, but even here, it was fairly close between the two teams. The big thing was the fact that they kind of had the advantage on rounds and just kind of squandered it.
Yeah, that honestly, that felt like the moment that they threw Nog on the Blackbeard, the whole tempo of the game just completely changed.
Yeah.
And every misstep that Vicious had been committing, every single misstep that it seemed like that they were taking, it fixed itself. It fixed itself because they were able to find kills, they were able to pin down Hyper, and really more than anything, Hyper were thriving off the ability for Vicious to not be able to find where they were. They were able to contest angles. They were able to take fights without really thinking about it. But having a Blackbeard on the board, you begin to have to think about whether you're going to take those fights because you're going to lose them. You can't just pop up and go for the headshot because that face shield will absorb it. Nog is going to walk away with a kill, and even if he needs to switch the face shield or not, he's going to get 2 to 3 kills, and we saw this time and time again. And then on defense, it just continued to go from there. And I think at that point, it snowballed. Hyper's frustration started to set in, and that was it. They threw Oregon away. We head to border now. It's a fresh start for both these teams to see what we accomplish, but you got to figure there's going to be a Blackbeard ban.
Yes, 100%. If it's border and you don't ban Blackbeard after that performance of Nog, you're kind of just throwing the game at that point because there's so many positions where Blackbeard can shut you down on defense. So I'm excited to see. This has been as close as we kind of predicted it. So we'll see if border is going to continue the trend or will it be a different story. But because we're here between maps 2 and 3, we're going to take a quick break. And after that, we'll be back for the final one.
Welcome back to the U.S. Nationals Stage 3. My name's Intero, joined by Milos, and we are in between matches. Yeah, we don't have another new match for you to start things up, but we have the conclusion between Vicious and Hyper, who have now tied it up 1-1, and we're heading to Border as our third map.
Yeah, and what a match it has been so far. I mean, we go through the clubhouse, 6-4, tight game, all around, fantastic to watch, back and forth. We go to map 2. Mistakes were made at the start. Advantage very much in the way of Hyper. And then Vicious are able to bring it back. That we were talking about the 180 from the Blackbeard on the 3K round on Tower. Just, oh my god. When that happens to you, you just don't want to play against it anymore. And maybe that'll tie into map 3 Border, because we'll go into the ban phase. And we mentioned it before we went to break. If you don't ban the Blackbeard here,
huge mistake.
Huge.
I mean, huge mistake. There were 6 rounds in a row that we saw get put together from Vicious after that happens. They get the first ban. They banned Glaz last time around, and they'll do the same this time as well.
Yeah, so here's Hyper. You have to decide, do we ban the Lion? Do we ban the Blackbeard? You gotta think that Nog is looking to secure the Blackbeard the instant it's available, and yes, there you go.
That's a no. That's a
no-brainer.
That's a no-brainer there. You know, that's going to be it, Chief. So easily take him off the board. You're now going to put Nog onto another operator, and whether you're going to have him on a hard breacher or not, Hyper will also ban Mira. Unsurprising there, as she typically doesn't habit one of those insta bans.
Yeah, and now it's all Maestro, Echo, Valkyrie, as all 3 operators are quite usual bans on this map. Possible that'll be the Echo here. Vicious did have a bit of problems against the Maestro, so it is definitely a possibility. But otherwise, they're standard bans. There's nothing out of the ordinary. No, I say that. Pulse is going to get banned. What do I know? So now, plays with a Pulse downstairs on the ground floor and in the server room especially, not going to be available.
I mean, I'm trying to think back. I feel like we see Pulse banned on Border actually a healthy number of times because of how strong he can be, especially against certain teams that run him quite a bit. Evil Geniuses, he gets banned an awful lot because of that, because they'll usually stick Canadian on him and put him down in server, and then he's very powerful playing down there. Or even having him be kept upstairs. I mean, there's lots of opportunities for a Pulse to run wild here, so that's something to keep mind of. Vicious starting on defense, they're going to go upstairs to that armory, lockers, and archives style of site. And, well, that's not much of a surprise, in all honesty. We'll be able to see if the break that we just had is able to knock off Vicious's strides that they've made over the last map. They won 6 rounds in a row, down 2-0, and they came back, roared back in excellent fashion. And a big part of that, was Holiday Nog's ability to commandeer a lot of those rounds with the Blackbeard, but then he played quite well as Smoke as well. I mean, he was still able to rack up a fair amount of kills on defense, even though he wasn't the person that was tasked with it. He was usually playing quite safely in sight, allowing the roamers to do the rest of the work. So what is he going to be able to accomplish this time around? Well, there's lots of anchor play coming out from Vicious. Echo remains unbanned, and then of course you got the Maestro and the Smoke there to lock things down with the dual roamer combo. As for Hyper's side of the equation, IQ is pretty standard. That's very sensible to see. And as for the rest, interesting that they're only going to bring a Hibana and not run with both hard breachers or even bother to bring a Thermite in the first place. Hyper has really foregone the Thermite pick over the last little while too.
Yeah, and it's an odd choice given the fact that we're probably going to be seeing Armory in the very first site. If you're on the defense, it's usually your first pick. Oh, K2, nice. It's Nog out of play. That's a long distance snipe there against the Smoke. So
that had to be a lucky fire through the door and happened to catch.
It's all calculated there, Parker.
I mean, here's the thing with this game. It is a one-shot kill to a head. So you shoot somebody in the head, they're insta-dead. It doesn't matter how long this range is. If you're blind firing through a wall, oh man, he's going to hit the drop hatch. Oh, Nikki gets very close to securing one. He and Habibi are both down, and everybody going for broke for the time being. Extra will at least find Rich, and well, they're going to have to bring the 2 members of Hyper back to half HP. Habibi picked up first. Nikki will be not far behind. Vicious, now with Oasis getting picked up, these are both teams losing an awful lot. Pixel victorious over Nikki, and man, they are coming to blows 1 second in as Pixel will have to run off, lick his wounds and offices, and oh man, what a rush.
It's only been a minute or so, and already there's a ton of damage being done. These spots, the drone being thrown out, and the explosive blows up in Strange's face right there, as at least one kill will get secured. A 2v3 advantage for Hyper, but they have no hard breach to get in here, and Oasis is set in Fountain right behind the shield. An easy frag to take down Habibi, and it's a 2v2 now. That's a zoinks right there, Parker, but extra playing from the back. The Jaeger's head is going to get spotted, but K2 can't find the timing on him. He's getting shocked from the back. Can't find the yokai. It's up there, but the shots are not really hitting.
It's on the other side of the railing.
Yeah.
That's why he can't pick it up. It's on the other side of the banister.
So Extra's just going to be spraying in as he gets shot down by Lojax, and all up to K2 in the 2v1. We'll have to walk right in as Oasis will immediately try to reset against this here. Moves in, but Oasis is ready. From Archives, he'll find the shot and walk right into Armory. K2 is down, and first round for Vicious is it started up pretty fast here. This is kicking it into high gear from round one.
That's 7 rounds in a row for Vicious. Worked out really, really well, though most of the action happened on
the balcony, really?
Pretty quick.
All right, we'll see how the picks will go for this round. Again, Vicious are on the defense. We'll see if they can get their 8th round on the board in a row. It seems like Hyper are going to go for a very similar setup. Now, the thing is, the Bandit was the big deal in that round early on, allowing for quick picks, allowing for an extra kill, and a lot of damage to be done to his opponents. Unfortunately, was not able to capitalize and get the kills on the 2 down players. So maybe the change for the Buck, or the play of the Buck this time, will be a bit more different in that they're going to be droning in to set up for grenades, not just for them to open up the side of the wall, or if they will, it'll be more of a just mouse drone hole, basically, to walk the drone in and get some info off of it. Obviously, with the first round being a victory on the Armory and Archives, this time it'll be played, or the site will be played down in Ventilation and Workshop. But as usual, you want to hold the bottom floor, you have to have good control of the top one, at least to delay your opponents. And Clash is going to be the operator played here by Vicious, our first one of the night.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising that we haven't really seen a lot of Clash. I think that really speaks to the fact that a lot of people hold an opinion that Clash is very strong, and I think maybe a bit too strong in a lot of circumstances.
I kind of agree.
And I would agree with some of the arguments in regards to the way that teams use her, which is that if you use her in a mobile information gather role, if you use her as a roamer, it's not really going to work out the way that you anticipate. A lot of teams will keep her very protected, very sheltered, so that in the final 30 to 40 seconds, you don't have a lot of opportunity to take care of her gadget-wise. It's very difficult to outright frag her, and if the rest of her team is still alive, then that backup is very important to do a lot of work to make sure that everybody gets shut down. And Lojax eliminating Nikki right off the hop so long to the Zofia. This has just been a real interesting matchup between these two teams as aggression seems to know no bounds.
Yeah, and of course taking the Zofia off the board means one of the big counters to Clash has been removed. You can still throw grenades at her if you're the Buck, but there's huge explosive resistance on the Clash, and here Lojax will find the second one. Strage will get shot down. The one hard breacher taken down again, and somehow we turn to a similar position as the previous round. The Clash standing right in front here and making sure they can delay things as much as possible here. Vicious Pix is down on the floor, or at least still with 1 health, and Rich will find the kill on K2, just pulling out the SMG at the last second. Habibi will come in and take him out, but that's a lot of manpower lost, and the site is untouched because you're attacking into Workshop, and usually want to have a thermite for this. It'll make things a lot simpler for you. Diffuser is on the opposite end here by the armory wall and need to go and pick it up, but they're unsure of enemy positions, and indeed, it is all clear and ready to go, so they're going to go pick up the diffuser. They have to watch any open holes, and Extra checking in, he'll find the head of Pixel and take him out by server.
There's an opportunity there that Pixel might have been holding a C4, the only member of the team that would have come equipped with it from Vicious's side of things, and that could have been really important to keep that diffuser out of the hands of Hyper, but Habibi will be able to fetch it quite well, sees the smoke from below, tussles with Nog, and Habibi just can't land all the shots need be. It's just an absolute clown fiesta as they both miss most of their shots, unloading all of his ammo as Habibi pulls out the pistol in an act of desperation. But Extra getting a little too close to that hatch, feet being presented to Vicious, and they'll be able to do a lot of damage, and both one shot is commonly referred to as Habibi will fall, and it's just Extra who wades through the barbed wire and sees the main stairs, but knows that he's got 3 to deal with. Nog will get reset, so opportunity for Vicious to give themselves an HP advantage even greater than they have now. LoJax sitting very low on HP, but actually Nog just sitting and waiting, it would appear. Extra will now drop the hatch, and there's LoJax there to pick up yet another kill, and that's technically 9 rounds in a row. Do our best Edward Rooney impression from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. 9 times we've seen Vicious be able to win a round now
I've never watched that.
That's a shame. It's a great piece and a cornerstone of American culture, I'm sure. Great comedy. I think you'd enjoy it very much. But 9 rounds from Vicious there.
All right.
Or 8 rounds, my apologies.
Rounds.
Not 9 yet. I got ahead of myself in terms of numbers.
2, 6 from before.
I can't.
6 plus 2.
They need to win this next one just so I can make the joke again. I'm nothing without humor.
Well, even then.
And maybe a nice beard.
Yeah, okay.
I'll give you
I'll give you that.
You give me that? Okay, good.
Okay. I'm a fair man. I'm a fair man there, Parker Mackay.
I mean, this is a good opportunity going to customs here. It's a much more difficult site for them to hold without Amira. They'll 6-pick onto a Clash, who I think they used the Clash quite well there, and I think a big part of it was the fact that, yeah, as we noted, the utility was drained earlier on, and then it was very difficult to deal with the Clash. The only benefit that they had against the Clash last time was that I think it was Rich pulled out his gun really early and then just decided to not put the shield back on and just go for frags. He got K2, but I think he got a little bit greedy after that.
Here's the thing with the Clash, though. If you're running the SMG, especially if you're playing online, this is something that doesn't factor too much in offline play. You can quick switch to the SMG in a way where your opponents can barely even see you having it out. Like the time between the shield and the pull out of the SMG is so tiny in online play, with ping factoring into the equation, that you can very much one-tap your opponents just by instantly switching and quick firing, because there's no delay between removing the shield and pulling out the SMG and firing the very first bullet. The delay is so tiny, you can't even notice it. And a lot of times you'll see that being used very effectively by some tough to deal with Clash players, and it is very frustrating to play against them, not only because of the fact that it's a shield on defense, but also because, oh, there you go, LoJax will find one on K2. It's got to be pretty frustrating to play against regardless. At least Strage is nearby, but he's not able to do much against it just yet, as LoJax will go back up the central stairs and hold on to the main hallway.
Getting us very close to like what I said, what I need this 9 times joke that I would make. I'll show you a clip later.
Okay.
But once again, undeterred up top. LoJax is up there with Oasis. We've actually seen a lot of teams employ Frost when looking on this site, especially if you look at a team such as SK. And there have been a couple teams, if I remember correctly, from European and Latin American regions who have done similar things, because it forces you to have to either take the fight with the operator that's going to be waiting for you to vault through the window, or the Frost trap below. And it'd be very difficult to do because you don't really have the destructive capabilities in order to take care of the mats at all. So time just slowly working away here, as it's very difficult for Hyper to be able to clear top down in this instance. They've done a great job of getting up towards the site. They'll confront the castle barricades, but Nog is there just prepped and waiting. And there you go. A Candela will go off, and Habibi's so close to being able to get that castle barricade open. And, well, I mean, he's going to use yet another Candela, as it's going to keep the smoke at bay. And it's just not going to deal with Nog at all. He's not going to have to deal with it at all. He just stays around the corner. And that's 2 Candelas now that really did nothing other than possibly prevent a peek.
Yeah, and if he had timed it for 3 seconds, maybe it would have been more effective, but he'll just walk in and actually down Nog as he just opens fire. 32 rounds still left in the magazine as Rich can't control the burst there of the SMG. Habibi will get the kill on Rich, as it is all up to Pixel. Now, does he have any explosives to play with? Yes, he does. Nitro Cell is in hand, but he's trying to find angle on Habibi in the back as he moves right past him. He'll find the kill, take him out, but there's still one more left. He's unsure of where the diffuser is planted, and indeed it is not in the supply room. It's around B. Does he have the information? As Strage is just dealing with it himself by having a drone out. He knows he'll have to peek against his opponent along the outside. That diffuser is perfectly planted for the Thermite, but the Bandit will walk right outside to try and contest, and he'll get the shots. The Thermite is down. Go in for the diffuser, and Pixel is going to save the round as Vicious will take round number 9.
9 times. 9 times. Excellent play from Pixel there. What a performance. The Ying, full health, gave her position away, pre-fired a little too early, right call to try to get the shots off, missed the Bandit. I don't think was expecting Pixel to try to get that close that quickly, playing a more hesitative style of play at the bottom of the main stairs, and then just reading off on the Thermite. I don't know if the Thermite of Strage was expecting the push out so hard, but I mean, Strage also had one shot to down, and that was all it took. And you saw the shot from the MP7 onto his back. Overall, Pixel saving that round, as it was a very fast pace that got set from Hyper. They broke open the castle barricade, Candela's went off, they hit the Lion, they literally just hit the gas pedal and jumped right in, and Habibi in particular got 2, maybe 3 kills within a very, very quick amount of time, shredded the opposition, got the plant down. It was very, very close, and the best round that we've seen Hyper put together since, I think, the very first map.
And I have to say, the Thermite there, he was busy on his drone. Unfortunately, the Bandit had not spotted the drone until he pressed space and went for the jump. If he did not do that, then he could have had a teammate just watching it, and he'd just peek against it. Because then, not only can you have the information on is the Bandit defusing or not, but also you just stand behind the pillar and wait until the Bandit walks out, and you know where his position is because your teammates are either spotting or calling things out. So, few mistakes in the even in the final seconds of the round, but I've been seeing this happen very, very often on Customs defense, is that it comes down a lot of times to a 1v1 clutch or one player really playing it well to bring it back, and oftentimes it is the Bandit. So make with that as you will, I guess, but now Vicious is back up to Armory, and they're going to bring the Echo. Yet again, K2 looking for a peek on the Smoke of Nog, as we saw him do in the very first round. This time, won't be lucky with that, as he goes in bullet by bullet and won't connect. There you go. That's a long angle.
I'm really wondering what Hyper can do to possibly get back into this game, because they have put nothing on the board now over, an 11 rounds. They've got 2. It's been really slow going, and I mean, they've been losing their fights as well. You've seen here that Vicious have been landing their shots, and Vicious just seem emboldened by it, getting very creative in the way that they're aggressively peaking and constantly taking the fights to Hyper. I think what they read was, by allowing Hyper to be really aggressive and play their game, it was really hurting Vicious overall. But Vicious realized at some point, hey, wait a minute, we're the team that has played together more often. We're the team that have more experience playing this at a PC level. We're the team that should be able to bully you across the map. And I think they've really embraced that position, and they've been doing quite well. Habibi and Rich in a shootout inside a fountain, as I say this, with both of them trying to land shots and neither of them being able to do so. A frag grenade should be able to get the Echo, and there you go. Blows up the deployable shield, downs the Echo at the same time, and they'll secure the kill quite well on Rich. Pixel is there to refrag, though, and, well, so is Nog. He'll pick up one on the Strage and dive back in to pick up Pixel, as this action has just come swift and violently so far as we're halfway through this round.
And now Diffuser's on the floor. Nobody was there to use the soft wall on the side of Archives to their advantage and get the pick on their opponents. As you see, it is. There'll be a drop down as LoJax will get one. And the Thatcher, oh no, Nikki will get the kill with the Claymore. It'll save his teammate here extra.
There's always a Claymore there. There's always a Claymore there.
100%. And that's why usually you'll see the player bolting out is someone that has an impact just to take it out. But no, oh no, Extra's just standing right in the middle of the balcony, gets shot from the side. Now the Zofia spotted, they know where she's at. Right on the ventilation, the shotgun somehow does not connect, but Pixel will, as Nikki will go down, and Vicious yet again, that's a 4-0 up. Make it a 10 there.
They'll hit double digits now in a row, and I mean, Border is not a map that I notice typically tends to be more defender-attacker favored. It's very much...
Kind of a 50-50.
It's a very 50-50. I think that Oregon is very similar too, where, you know, you've got ample opportunity for attackers to be able to build a lineup that can quite well punish the defense. You've also got defender lineups that can stifle all of your offense. On that particular round, every single bit of interaction happened around office. They couldn't get the office wall open. They struggled to be able to push inside a fountain. That's where the fights happened. And basically the hill upon which Vicious tried to die was inside of archives, and they did so quite well. You know, they didn't need to really throw bodies at the problem until Lojax literally flew out the window and ended up blowing up on the Claymore. But, I mean, that's a call you can make. You're up. It's a 4v2. You can go for broke at that point. You know, you got somebody who is not a high priority operator who doesn't need to stay till the very end, and you can rely on having a smoke and a maestro still available for you if it goes south, which it did. So ultimately, you look at this scoreline here, and man, I mean, there's a fair amount of kills for Hyper on the board over 4 rounds, but not a lot to show for, and they just have not been able to get it going after the first bit of action happens. Usually after the first couple kills, it's Vicious 100% in the driver's seat. The only round that came really, really close was on Customs. That was it. Outside of that, it's been all Vicious all the way down now on 2 sites. And the good thing for Vicious is that they can go back to Ventilation Workshop, which they looked to be quite confident on last time around, and try to pull off a sweep here on defense.
I think it's the logo. That's just it. That skull, it very much has its effect on Hyper.
That's what you think it is.
That's exactly what it is. Perfect analysis here, by the way. Yep. I can already see the Reddit posts. Best analyst R6EU ever. There you go.
Oh my gosh.
Habibi will walk in to Tellers in the main lobby, trying to clear things out. As of course, are they just going to rush it?
This is just going to be a bull rush here. That's exactly what it is. They're inside of the site. Nog is not even aware, and he is going to hit the deck. But it's going to get bounced off. Oasis is there to be able to trade it out. Pixel gets one as well. And it looks like this rush, this go for broke strat of Hyper, it's not really going anywhere for the time being. They'll lose their Lion as well as their Ashe, 2 of their strongest rush operators.
If anything, it is going for broke at this point. It's not working out too well. More damage done to Hypers. Bandit is trying to contest here. Pixel, this will have to deal with the castle on the opposite end by the Customs. There's soft walls everywhere around the workshop. Oasis still sitting back behind the beepers. He's going to get tagged and taken down. There you go. Strage coming in from the back to turn it into a 3v3, but there's still the clash available. And where is Richie Rich? There you go. He's playing inside a workshop. So the wall has been opened, but at least they can rely on Rich on holding one side of this. So he can give information as well. They'll grab onto Nikki, and that's now the Zofia eliminated. Strage shot a 1v1 is Pixel. Again, he'll find the Pixel shot. And tick down Strage. All up to the Thatcher as he takes a bit more damage. He'll find the angle and the shot. It's half health though. Pixel has gone down, but all the clash has to do is slow him down, and Lojax should be able to clean him up very easily here yet again. What can you do against the shield? You can EMP it so you're not slowed down, but just back off and hold it back on again. There you go. Rich, so frustrating to deal with that clash solo and trying to bait in the Thatcher to 1v1 using the Jaeger, and there you go. Rich with the quick switch on to the SMG. Will find the kill on Extra and take him out. 5-0 here for Vicious, and that's now 11.
Very shrewd play there by the Clash as well to turn the way that the shield would get knocked away from, so that when you quick switch, it gives you a much better opportunity to land the shots need be. And overall, this is just all Vicious. Really bearing their teeth this time, and Hyper have not been able to get anything going. They will get the benefit, though, of a side switch, and they'll go on to defense here. They'll go down, they'll go straight for Customs, which is an interesting strategy. would have assumed that possibly going with Armory would make the most sense, as it tends to be the most defendable site and the most comfortable site for most teams. But maybe there's something that Hyper knows that we don't. Vicious right now sitting one round away from squaring up against Mouse Sports next week. An interesting play here for them. As for what we're going to see from Vicious, well, Nog is going to be running with the Canadian operator of Buck. We're going to see a Lion come out as well, as he remains unbanned. Really not used all that effectively by Hyper. Definitely been a team where Vicious, or definitely been a situation where Vicious as a team has done a much better job with the Lion to be able to get the most out of it.
I'm unsure of this play from Hyper to go for customs first. Vicious half the Buck. Perfect operator to have, so you can just open up the top of detention, or jail, however you may call it. Chuck in grenades, take out any bandit batteries that are set up there, anybody that is in detention as well. You have the thermite, opens up the wall. That's one part of your attack that's already done. Take control of CCTV. You have the Zofia as well to deal. Is that what? Okay. Okay. That's an oddity. To have to run out with the Maestro and put it right on the balcony with the Evil Eye.
I mean, we've seen that. We've actually seen that before, quite a fair bit. To be totally fair. I don't think that's that weird. I mean, it's a question of whether the utility is worth it, because a lot of teams will be able to deal with that quite effectively. You know, a frag grenade, anything. There's next to nothing to stop a team from destroying that Evil Eye.
And you know that's the thing. That's why I find it a bit questionable in that situation.
It is an odd choice. I mean, it's not uncommon to see, but it's always something that I don't know how much you get out of it, right?
No. Well, in the meantime, it's the Buck that opens up the side as the smoke is detected for just a second, as Habibi is going to be able to fall back. Rich in the archives is Nog right next to him, trying to build the crossfire here. He'll switch over the lifeline, but it's Nikki to find the very first one. And so once again, we'll see Hyper with the advantage early on in the round. Just disoriented by the yokai for just a second.
So they'll just all sit in place and just wait here. And I mean, you lose Rich, which is not great. You've still got Pixel running on that Lion, who, after having a pretty bad start as the Capitao, really picked things up in that second half of Oregon, playing on the mute, and now has done so well playing on defense here. First kill for Vicious is going to come out to Oasis, doubles up on it with the C75. Manages to find both the Maestro as well as the Jaeger. Those are two prime opportunity picks for Vicious to try and tip the scales back in their favor.
Habibi watching the angle here onto the main stairs. Nobody picking up just yet by Beepers. Will chuck in a remote gas canister and just fall back as the utility has been used there. The Echo will try to 1v1 against the CZ75 of Oasis as he'll find the frag. K2 taken down. Almost dropped there. The smoke somehow, his shot's not connecting. And speaking of not connecting, that'll be Habibi, as Nog and Pixel will get the last two kills, and that'll be it. 6-0 victory for Vicious on map number 3. That's it's a pretty darn interesting matchup in map 3 especially, but at least we know our victors and we know who's going to face off against Mouse Sports.
What an interesting game. What an interesting game. What an interesting series that was in particular. Just puzzling. So puzzling. Honestly, Vicious looked quite bad on a number of rounds on Clubhouse. Just really not where they needed to be as a team. Hyper was able to just take advantage of every single mistake that was given to them. We pivot over to Oregon. Hyper starts out really, really strong. They look quite good. 2 rounds in, once again, same thing. They're playing their style of game. It seems to be getting under the skin of Vicious. One thing changes, and that's we see Holiday Nog move over to Blackbeard, and now Hyper need to be a bit more hesitant when they peek those angles. They can't play as freely. They need to be more coordinated, and I think when that happened, things started to fall apart for Hyper at that point. They weren't quite as well coordinated, and because of that change, his play over 2 maps, my MVP, quite easily, Holiday Nog.
Yeah, you kind of grabbed that one here. And for me, it's got to be Habibi from Hyper, not only because of the name, but also his performance in-game has been fairly striking, to say the least. Even with Hyper not playing to their level in the second half of the second map, and obviously map 3 was able to get some substantial frags, not only in the quantity of frags, but also in the quality of them. The picks were fairly important for some of the rounds that were saved. Unfortunately, of course, it does not end up in a victory. It's a 2-1 victory for Vicious over Hyper. That last map was not as tight as we thought it would be, but overall, it was a much closer matchup than what we saw in our very first one between Alpha Gang and their opponents, of course, members only.
I mean, if you overlook Clubhouse, which just might not be a map that Vicious is particularly good at, or maybe they had a hard time finding their footing, the last two maps went the way of the same Elephant Gang and members only, right? And I mean, that's where it's hard to really see, was that first map an outlier, or did the change that happened in Oregon really reset the tempo? That's something that you always have to kind of think on, and there isn't necessarily a definitive answer for that, right? Did that change really completely put the wind at the sails of Vicious? We don't know. And I mean, that's something that we can speculate on. For Hyper, it would be nice to get their perspective. Unfortunately, we don't get an interview with Hyper because they didn't win the series, but it's interesting to see what went through their heads when that change happened, because there were a lot of times where it just seemed like Vicious was indestructible through both Oregon and Border, and that is something that can be so demoralizing playing against, where you've gone from an entire match on Clubhouse where you're getting fed mistakes. You can't be stopped. You're winning your gunfights. Every engagement is going your way. Everything's falling into place, and then that just completely flips on its head through Oregon. You can't catch a break, and every time you're in a fight, you end up losing it. That's going to wear on a team at some point. And I mean, I didn't really see the strength there from Hyper to be able to gain that footing back.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate. At a certain point, it's just no way to recover from it in terms of pure morale, and the start of Border in that very first and then the second round after it definitely shut them down. They were not in that cool, calm, headed situation that they were in, or the mindset that they were in earlier on in the series. And by that point, it's a butterfly effect. Much better than the movie, but fairly efficient at the end. That was a terrible movie.
There's a lot of things better than that movie. Yeah. And I mean, we can pick the brains of some of the members of Vicious, and in this particular case, Rich, as we'll bring it up and we'll say hello to the victors. Congratulations, Rich. How are you feeling after that win?
Honestly, pretty good. Nog's just a GOAT. Carried us through the whole thing.
Of course, this is something that's going to play on the minds of most people who watch this game, is that change to Blackbeard. It's always been Nog's best operator. It's something that he's very capable and comfortable playing on. I'm actually kind of surprised that it took that long to get the Blackbeard out. At that point, the whole tide of the game changed. Do you think it was your confidence being regained, or do you think it was more that Hyper couldn't play their game against it?
I think they were just trying to peek everything, and Nog was just fragging everyone. That's literally it.
You think it was that simple, eh?
It was that simple. He literally didn't lose a gunfight. It was insane.
I mean, he did look impervious to damage. I mean, there was that one, that almost 180 flick that he got over to Armory window when he was trying to play on tower, which was baffling. But take us through Clubhouse, by the way, because you committed a number, your team, not you in particular, but your team committed quite a large number of errors on Clubhouse, starting out on defense, then transitioning over to attack. I mean, other than having Nog kill everything, what changed in your own gameplay as the rest of the team seemed to perform better around it, from that first match where Hyper beat you to the punch most of the time, to the second and third maps where you just were so much better in almost every way as a unit?
Well, if we're talking about Clubhouse, we were just not ready for that aggression. It was insane. I don't know if y'all were watching them, but they were literally everywhere all the time, putting pressure everywhere, and I applaud them for that. But then when we kind of caught on Oregon, they're going to push everything, so just be ready. And we just deleted them.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seemed like the whole tempo really did change at some point. And I mean, we witnessed this in the Obey strength matchup last week. I don't know if you got to tune into that. I don't think Obey were expecting how aggressive a team strength were. And I think that really translated to Hyper too, was that there were issues that you had being able to do flank watching, and they were just peeking angles that they shouldn't have to peek. And I think you responded by starting to do the same thing and ended up shutting them down. Now, let's transition over to your matchup against Mouse for the final question. You play Mouse next week. What preparation do you have to do as a team over the next 5 days to be ready for that matchup? That goes beyond what you had to do today against Hyper. How is that going to change, and what's your focus going to be on the next 5 days?
Well, the biggest thing is we don't have to worry about that aggression no more because Mouse isn't like that. But the biggest thing is just VOD reviewing and finding out how they play. But I definitely think we could beat Mouse.
Absolutely. Well, it's quite a test. You've got a formidable opponent. Best of luck. Anything to say to the viewers or your fans before we conclude the interview?
You have a really nice haircut, and Nog's a goat.
Thank you so much. Take care, Rich.
You too, buddy.
Thanks.